Chapter 1261. But this blood-colored altar that was protected by the ancient laws, as well as the heaven and earth, were destroyed. Black Bear Demon and Wild Boar Demon also wanted to doubt it, but the truth was right in front of them, and the shattered space had yet to close. No, I think that brat is still alive. Only the arrogant man raised an objection. Tell me your reason. The nine-headed demon king looked at him strangely. I can't see clearly, but I have a feeling that Titan you is not dead, but hiding somewhere. That brat doesn't look like someone who will die young. If it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't kill him, I would have rushed up and killed him long ago. I hate people who are more handsome than me the most. Not only is this brat more handsome than me, he is also very smart. Most importantly, he is very lucky. I am so jealous that I am about to go crazy. No, wait for him to come out. I must find him and have a good fight, or else I will not be able to get rid of the hatred in my heart. The arrogant man's words did not gain the approval of the twin-headed dragon Guong and the others. Intuition? Do men have intuition too? If a man's intuition was useful, then what was the use of women in the world? As for the signs of dying young, that was even funnier. What did one's appearance have to do with life and death? Could it be that being handsome meant having a long life? Being ugly meant having a short life? There was no justice in this world. If that was the case, then the Goblin Clan brat in front of him should have died a long time ago. Hearing that, Nine-Headed Demon smiled. He did not acknowledge it, nor did he deny it. Stop bullshitting. Brat, didn't your intuition tell you that you are in big trouble? The overlord of heavenly dragon race, who had been waiting for a long time, mocked his opponent mercilessly. Standing in front of him like a small mountain, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. I don't have any disasters, but you, I dare say, will definitely not live past today. The arrogant man raised his head and mocked without fear. You are courting death. The overlord of heavenly dragon race raised his right hand high up, preparing to kill the arrogant Goblin Clan brat in one move. Wait! A heavenly voice rang out. It was like a clear spring in the forest, flowing through the stone surface, nourishing the heart. It was as if there was a kind of sweetness flowing out from the bottom of her heart. Even the most irascible person in the world would immediately vanish after hearing this sweet and moving heavenly voice. No one could be seen, but the sky was filled with dazzling stars. Even someone as strong as the twin-headed dragon Guong was only able to catch a glimpse of a faintly discernible and ethereal beautiful silhouette at the center of the dazzling starlight. However, he was unable to see her true appearance, let alone capture the position of the person who had arrived. In the middle of the blood-colored altar that was slowly splitting open, starlight flickered like the Milky Way. In an instant, the entire place had turned into a dreamy and beautiful starry sky. As one of the masters, I've always been too lazy to deal with external affairs. After all, it's men who are in charge of external affairs. I'm just a little girl, and it's not appropriate for me to always be involved in these matters. In addition, I'm a sloppy person, and I don't have much of a competitive heart. If I can take a step back, I'll take a step back. Even if I'm bullied, I'll keep my mouth shut if I can bear it. However, since it's like this today, and little boy you isn't here, I have to come out and greet the guests. That heavenly and sweet female voice was like a soft whisper. At first, it was right beside one's ear, but when one listened to it quietly, it seemed to come from beyond the starry sky. It was so mysterious that it made one unable to grasp it. Stop trying to mystify things here. Get out here right now. The only person present who was displeased was the beautiful queen, Thousand Bones Crispy, whose entire body was burning with raging flames. It was similar to the reason that arrogant men hated handsome men. All of the beauties in the world were her enemies. No matter if they were big or small beauties, as long as they were beauties, they were all enemies. Furthermore, the ending was death. The beautiful queen, Thousand Bones Crispy, in her rage, waved her hand towards the Milky Way and released a wave of raging dragon flames that could burn everything. Even if she couldn't kill the opponent in one move, she wanted to burn the opponent until they were badly battered. If she could burn the opponent until they were disfigured, that would be for the best. Unfortunately, when the violent dragon flames that were theoretically capable of incinerating everything in the world entered into the dazzling and flickering river of stars. They were like clay oxen that had entered the sea, and they vanished without a trace, without a sound. The beautiful queen, Thousand Bones Crispy, attacked without any regard for the consequences, causing the two-headed dragon Guong to frown. However, he didn't stop her. He intentionally let his impulsive companion test the opponent's strength. However, the result of the test caused him to frown even more. The raging dragon flames that could burn everything in the world didn't even have the slightest effect. It was as if it didn't exist. Perhaps it wasn't devoured but melted. Or perhaps it wasn't melted, but a kind of indescribable assimilation. The two-headed dragon Guong discovered that even though he had the true sharp dragon eyes, he couldn't see through the truth. He couldn't even see through the surface. This was really baffling. Tong Tian Tower. Where did so many strong warriors come from? Could it be that Tong Tian Tower didn't just have one super strong warrior? The one that came now, the one that was obviously female, who was she? Could she be the human Ji Zun that Dong Feng mentioned before? But that wasn't right. The human Ji Zun in the intelligence report was a close combat warrior that was skilled in swordsmanship. She was completely different from this woman who appeared with starlight. Even if she was the human Ji Zun, according to the intelligence report, there was no reason for her to be so strong. Who was she? We, the nine-headed clan, were invited by Dong Feng to come from the heaven realm. Before this, we even made a bet with Titan Yu. However, Supreme Gene interfered in the middle and sent Titan Yu somewhere. Otherwise, if there were any misunderstandings, we could definitely clear them up. The nine-headed goblin had a better temper. He bowed slightly towards the center of the Milky Way. Since you have a bet with little you, then please stand aside and wait for him to return. That heavenly voice rang again. Now, I would like to greet some guests that don't have the awareness of being a guest. Return? People who were killed by god power can still return. The heavenly dragon clan overlord, who was standing in front of the arrogant man, laughed towards the sky. If he can come back, I will eat with my nose and walk with my hands from now on. Another heavenly dragon clan overlord, who was standing behind him, laughed maniacally. You can still think with your butt and spit out feces with your mouth. So you're this kind of messed up trash. The arrogant man unrestrainedly raised his lips and ridiculed. Although he was not Yu Yang's friend, he could not stand the disgusting faces of the heavenly dragon clan rankers. He ignored the heavenly dragon clan overlord in front of him and turned his head to look at the center of the Milky Way. He asked, "Are you a good person or a bad person?" "Me? I can't be considered a good person, but I don't seem to be a bad person either." The clear voice in the resplendent Milky Way suddenly laughed. "Then forget it." The arrogant man's face was filled with pity. "If I'm a good person," that heavenly voice made a strange assumption. "I hate good people the most. If you're a good person, then I will give you a good beating. If you are a man, I will even bite off your nose so that you will never be able to raise your head again." The arrogant man was born to be rebellious. "Then it's a good thing I'm not a good person. What if I'm a bad person?" The heavenly voice in the galaxy made another assumption. "I like bad guys the most. Although you're a woman, if you're a bad guy, then I'll have to help you fight. I'll break all the bones of those who oppose you, peel off their skin, and pull out their tendons. In this world, it's not easy to be a bad guy all the time. I have to encourage you no matter what." The arrogant man shook his head regretfully and sighed. "It's a pity that you are not a bad person. Otherwise, I could help you. Why don't you start being a bad person now? That way, I will have enough motivation and reason to help you fight." "Thank you very much, but at the same time, I am very sorry. I think, regarding the decision to start being a bad person now, I still need to think about it. If one day I decide to be a bad person, I will inform you." The heavenly voice in the galaxy held back her laughter and gently rejected the arrogant man's crazy suggestion. "All right then." The arrogant man shrugged his shoulders in disappointment. His expression was extremely helpless. The other party was not a bad person. He could not help, so he could only quietly watch as this group of heavenly dragon race rankers who were unhappy with him acted like a tyrant. Originally, he could have made the first move. Unfortunately, the other party was his master. He was not like Supreme Gene. If it was not necessary, he did not want to make a move in front of his master. In that case, it was really too rude. The Eastern Goblin tribe could be very cruel and terrifying, but they could not be rude. If they were to always be like this, others would think that the Eastern Goblin tribe did not have a good upbringing, and that would affect the image of their own tribe. The beautiful Thousand Bones Crispy made a go-for-me gesture and snorted coldly. Now is not the time to chat. As guests, if we don't hurry up and take out a big gift, we will make the master forget about our existence. Shanlong, Konglong, as the two of you are the overlords of the upper realm, if you were to be placed in the lower realm, forget about being a regent emperor, you might even be a big shot. You came to this Tong Tian Tower, which is as small as a village, and was ignored like this. Don't you feel a little ashamed? If you still have a trace of honor in your heart, then hurry up and show your true strength, and give this beauty who claims to be one of the masters of Tong Tian Tower a surprise. Are you going to perform with your mouths? What a surprise. The arrogant man really wanted the overlord of the heavenly dragon tribe to punch him. As long as he made a move, he would have a reason to go crazy. Hence, the expression on his face was filled with an arrogant provocation of, hurry up and hit me. I can't wait to start fighting. However, the two-headed dragon Gu Ong shook his head, indicating to his companions not to provoke this goblin brat. Especially in a situation where a super ranker from Tong Tian Tower had just appeared, they should not make the first move. They won't have a chance to perform, because they will die soon. In the bright starry sky, the beautiful voice that seemed to be the sound of nature rang clearly. Brat Yu is not here. All the trouble has fallen on my head. This is really too infuriating. I hate trouble. It's okay if you don't want it. My anger comes and goes quickly. As long as I kill 100 people, I think my anger will be mostly gone. Everyone was stunned. Did they hear wrongly? Was this something a great beauty should say? Fighting and killing. This didn't seem to be in line with the code of conduct of a lady, right? Standing in front of the arrogant man, the heavenly dragon tribe's overlord, who was called Shanlong by the beautiful queen, was stunned for a moment before he started laughing crazily. He laughed until tears flowed down his cheeks, and he couldn't even straighten his back. Ah ha ha! I'm dying of laughter. Is Tong Tian Tower full of fools? Could it be that the specialty of this countryside is bragging? What genius tightened you? He was killed in a single move, and now there's a little girl who doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's bragging too much. Could it be that the people of Tong Tian Tower don't know their own limits? Ha ha ha! I'm standing right here. If you have the ability, then kill me. I want to see how you kill me. Come, I promise I won't fight back. Let's see how you kill me. Then watch carefully. Beside the heavenly dragon race's overlord, Shanglong, there were already dozens of stars. The stars were very small, but they were as bright as fire. One by one, they seemed to be thrown by a person in a mess. However, upon closer inspection, it seemed like an invisible hand with a unique intelligence was quietly adjusting its position, arranging them into a mysterious and unpredictable beautiful pattern. The heavenly dragon race's overlord, Shanglong, was just about to mock him and say, "You want to kill me with just these stars and these little things?" However, before he could say anything, he found that his body was painlessly cut apart by a mysterious force. He was divided into thousands of pieces, including his own head, which was instantly thrown into the air. There was no pain, or rather, he didn't have time to feel any pain. Shanglong discovered that his body had been shattered, and surprisingly, he did not lose consciousness. He clearly and completely understood the entire process of his body shattering. He couldn't understand why and what kind of power caused this, but he knew one thing: this was definitely not an illusion, but a fact. Just as Shanglong, the overlord of the heavenly dragon race, was about to shout out no, he discovered that his shattered body was instantly swallowed by a terrifying black hole hidden in the starry sky. Not a single bit was left behind. Other than his head, the rest of his body had disappeared without a trace. Why did he leave his head behind? Shanglong was thinking about this question. However, in the next second he understood. because the master of Tong Tian Tower, who was still in the galaxy, wanted to turn his head into a meteor. As he flew at an extremely fast speed that was close to light, Shanglong discovered that his head had collided with a tiny star at high speed. Only when he got closer did he realize that the extremely small star from afar was actually an incomparably huge planet. His head smashed into it like a meteor. As a result, he didn't even need to think to know the result. Boom! The moment Shanglong collided, he felt as if his soul had been smashed into pieces. Then, in the midst of the destructive explosion, everything was annihilated and turned into nothingness. From Shanglong's point of view, it was indeed like this. However, in the eyes of the two-headed dragon Guang, the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Paralysis, and the other heavenly dragon race experts, Shanglong was swallowed by the black hole in less than a 10,000th of a second. His head exploded like a planet, turning into some cosmic dust. Forget about rescue. They couldn't even see it clearly. In a blink of an eye, the heavenly dragon race expert, Shanglong, who could be called an overlord in the heaven realm, had already turned into dust. This was truly out of everyone's expectations. Although it was not as terrifying as Jindi's divine power, it was still an instant kill. The great beauty hidden in the starry sky in front of them actually had the power to instantly kill a heaven realm expert. How is this possible? Impossible. Kong Long, who was helping Shanglong, was scared out of his wits. He cried out in fear and hurriedly turned around to hide behind the two-headed dragon Guang. He was deeply afraid that he would follow in his comrade's footsteps and be instantly killed by his opponent. What's your name? The two-headed dragon Gu Ang's expression changed greatly. He forcefully suppressed his wildly beating heart and swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty as he strenuously asked, "My name is Night Empress, but I'm just a small character in Tong Tian Tower. Little Brat Yu isn't here, and Ji Zun hasn't returned, so I'm the one to greet the esteemed guests. This is only a side dish with 10,000 times the power of the starry sky. If you don't mind, I still have 100,000 times the power of the starry sky soup and 200,000 times the main dish. I even have 300,000 times the power of the starry sky dessert. I believe that under such a feast, everyone will definitely return satisfied." At this moment, when the heavenly voice came out, other than the two-headed dragon Guang, the other four people of the heavenly dragon race, including the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Paralysis, immediately rushed into the sky and hurriedly escaped from this terrifying starry sky. Chapter 1262, Divine Realm. The arrogant man looked at the two-headed dragon Guang and the rest of the heavenly dragon clan with a hint of schadenfreude. Especially when he saw Kong Long's pale face, he was overjoyed. "Congratulations, you're really lucky to have offended a divine realm ranker. Only a condescending piece of trash, like you would look down on others with your snobbish eyes. Why can't Tong Tian Tower have supreme rankers? Since ancient times, the soaring dragon continent, Heaven's Stairway, and Demon Abyss have always been filled with strong people. The Prison Emperor 6,000 years ago, the Conquest Queen 10,000 years ago, and before that, there were countless supreme rankers. Even I can't stand you shameless people who betray your superiors and kill your masters. Do you think you have a right to judge others?" The arrogant man mocked the heavenly dragon clan. Unfortunately, the Night Empress was here. The heavenly dragon clan's overlords were too busy protecting themselves to argue with him, so they pretended not to hear him. The Black Terror clan's Black Bear Demon and Wild Boar Demon were also frightened. Their expressions were completely different from the arrogant man's. Silently, they adjusted their positions and gradually moved to the periphery while no one was paying attention. They were unwilling to provoke the Night Empress, who suddenly appeared. Moreover, with their strength at the Monster King level, they definitely could not afford to offend a deity who possessed a supreme will. They faced Shanglong, who was instantly killed by the Night Empress. Or the Kong Long, who just escaped, probably only had a slight advantage, but not by much. If they faced the Heavenly Dragon clan's strongest double-headed Guang, they might not be able to win even if they joined forces. As a result, They naturally did not dare to provoke the Night Empress, who was in the true God realm. Even though they did not know who was stronger or weaker between the Night Empress and Supreme Jean, they could at least be sure that these two were existences that could instantly kill everyone present. It is indeed the divine realm. The nine-headed goblin of the nine-headed clan had a calm expression as he leisurely analyzed. The power of the ancient code formed by combining god power with sovereign will is very impressive. However, it might be because she has only reached the divine realm for a short period of time, and the condensation of her divine deity is not perfect. Her control and use of god power are also slightly lacking. Of course, this divine might combined with the power of the stars is admirable. It's too beautiful and dazzling. It's both eternal and destructive. In the future, this Supreme Night Empress will definitely become a divine supreme that will dazzle the entire upper heaven realm. As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned. The arrogant man, the two-headed dragon Guang, and the beautiful thousand bones enchantress were all astonished, especially the beautiful queen of the heavenly dragon race. She was even more indignant. She thought to herself, what kind of identity do you have? Do you have the qualifications to judge a God realm expert? If these words were said by the demon arch behind you, then it would still be a stretch. But you're just a small character in the Nine-Head clan. You're not even the strongest among your 5 companions. How dare you speak so arrogantly? However, the two-headed dragon Guang suddenly felt a burst of ecstasy in his heart. Because the heavenly dragon race had offended the Night Empress with his words, he was in imminent danger. If the nine-headed race could successfully divert their hatred and attract their firepower at this critical moment, that would be for the best. The nine-headed demon clan had such a strong enemy under the tree. Even if the Night Empress didn't want to let the heavenly dragon race go, the target and energy of her attack would be scattered. The two-headed dragon Guang couldn't wait for the Night Empress to hear this and immediately attack in a thunderous rage to kill the nine-headed race. I wouldn't dare to call you Jizun. There's only one Jizun in the Tong Tian Tower. Who knew that the heavenly voice in the illusory galaxy didn't act up at all? She even smiled and thanked the nine-headed demon clan for their comments. There are too many shortcomings. I also want to calm down and condense my godhood. It's a pity that in less than 2 months, I haven't even had the time to sort out my thoughts from my deep sleep before I have to rush into battle. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been bullied at my door. I could only swallow my anger like this. To be able to have such godly power in just 2 months, it's really amazing. The nine-headed demon clan was moved. The beautiful queen and the two-headed dragon Guang were speechless. I said you're fat and you're still panting. You're just a nine-headed demon clan. You're not even in the divine state. What gives you the right to be so pretentious? The Night Empress is just being humble and tolerant. You, on the other hand, are pretending again and again as if you're also a divine state master. Is there such a funny clown? You haven't reached that level yet, and you dare to talk nonsense? Only Kong Long, the overlord of the Heavenly Dragon clan, didn't pay attention to this. He just wanted to escape from the blood-colored altar and the 5th level of the Heaven Stairway. No matter what the others said, it wouldn't change the fact that he had maliciously mocked a god. Other than running away, he couldn't think of a second way to save his life. No one knew how far away in the sky. There was a voice that was transmitted from an extremely far distance. It was clearly reflected in everyone's ears, as if it was speaking right beside their ears. We are old friends, the 3 old bastards, unfalling, undefeatable, and unmoving. We are glad to see the immortal realm sovereign of the Heaven Stairway again. We are willing to talk to the newly promoted immortal realm sovereign in detail on the 10th floor of the Heaven Stairway, recalling the hospitality of Princess Starlight in the past. We can't wait to see the elegance of the new immortal realm sovereign. The divine was transmitted. Kong Long, the two-headed dragon Guang, the beautiful queen, and the rest cheered. The head elder of the central shrine, the unmoving demon clan, was about to make his move. Now, the Night Empress, the divine state master, wouldn't bother them anymore. Although they had only heard of the unmoving demon clan and had never heard of the undying and the undefeatable. But according to their self-description, they were sure that the undying and the undefeatable demon clan were at the same level as the unmoving demon clan. Even if they were slightly weaker, they wouldn't be too far off. Now, the three divine state masters from the central shrine were besieging the Night Empress. How could she win? Not to mention, the Night Empress was a newcomer who had just advanced to the divine state 2 months ago. How can I not go to an old friend's appointment? As a descendant of the younger generation, I, Yu, have never dared to forget the regret of Princess Starlight that year. Today is such a good morning. Yu will definitely treat my old friend with great hospitality and set up a banquet to reward the esteemed guest from the heaven realm who came from afar. Within the resplendent galaxy, the sound of nature was still pleasant to the ears, but even a deaf person could hear how furious the master of this galaxy was. Although the words were unusually polite, even a fool could feel the killing intent within. It was an old grudge that couldn't be changed even if the world was overturned. Because of the extreme anger, the stars exploded under the control of the divine will. It turned out that the beautiful figure was invisible. She turned into a meteor that pierced through the space and time of the eternal night, piercing through the void and disappeared in front of everyone. When the Night Empress, who was invited to the 10th floor of the heaven stairway, left, Kong Long collapsed on the ground. His whole body was drenched, as if he had just been fished out of the water. The sweat on his body almost caused him to die of dehydration. The instant relief after the fear even made Kong Long lose control. He could no longer maintain his human form, and directly turned into a 300-meter-long scarlet flame dragon. He gasped for breath. If the three warriors from the central shrine, Budo, Booby, and Budo, had appeared a little later, he would probably have turned into nothingness like his companion Shanglong. Having its life back, it felt ecstasy from narrowly escaping death, but also uneasiness from the lingering fear. Of course, the departure of the divine state master, Night Empress, had more or less restored some of his confidence, giving him enough courage to continue to stay at the edge of the blood-colored altar and fight for the 1% share of the god's ruins. If there were no accidents, it was impossible for the Night Empress to come back. She was dead. As a newcomer to the God Realm who had just advanced to the God Realm not long ago, it was already a miracle that he could kill one of the three God Realm experts who were besieged by Bu Fu, Bu Bai, and Bu Dong. It was a dream that even a 3-year-old child would not believe that he could achieve a complete victory and defeat all the powerful enemies. A strong enemy who was destined to die. No matter how strong he was, what was there to be afraid of? Roar, roar, roar. Kong Long roared towards the sky, hoping to use this to restore a little bit of his power, so that the Goblin Clan boy who was looking at him with disdain would not continue to look down on him. Don't look at me. I won't attack you. The arrogant man turned his face and did not look at Kong Long again. Question mark. Kong Long was confused. Wasn't this boy very arrogant just now? What was going on? Didn't this Goblin Clan boy always want to cause trouble? Could it be that after the Night Empress left, this boy saw that the situation had turned back to his heavenly dragon clan, so he put away his arrogance? The double-headed dragon Guong and the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Paralysis were also very surprised. It was not easy for this boy to give in. Could it be that he was frightened by the immovable revered martial artist and the other old ghosts of the central shrine? That's why he didn't dare to cause trouble. If that was really the case, then that would be great. Without this brat causing trouble in the middle, the heavenly dragon race would be able to obtain 5% of the god's ruined share of the 3 days in peace. At that time, the heavenly dragon race would rise and even surpass the glory of the heavenly dragon emperor's era. The arrogant man turned his head and did not look. On the other hand, the nine-headed snake of the nine-headed clan seemed to have a good heart. He specially reminded him, "He didn't attack you because you are already dead." What? Kong Long was baffled. I'm already dead? I'm clearly still alive. The next second after the nine-headed snake said, "You are already dead," Kong Long discovered that his stomach was swelling up at an unimaginable speed. In the end, the dragon skin could no longer support this crazy expansion. With a boom, it exploded, sending countless internal organs and flesh flying all over the sky. This was not the end. In Kong Long's stomach, there was a terrifying star that was growing crazily. In the blink of an eye, it had grown from the size of a needle tip to a star that was 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, or even 10,000 meters in size. In comparison, Kong Long, who was 300 meters long, was like a small ant that was being crushed by a star. It couldn't even cry out for help, as it was directly crushed into pieces in pain. No one dared to save him. Everyone understood a fact. Kong Long was dead for sure. There was no way to save him. Including the heavenly dragon race's strongest expert, the two-headed dragon Guong. Everyone rose into the air, fleeing far away from Kong Long and the newly born red giant body that was growing crazily. It was unknown to what extent the red giant body had expanded to, but in the end, there was a huge explosion that shattered the heavens and the earth. Kong Long exploded to the point that not even ashes were left. His soul was destroyed. Furthermore, when the big explosion reached its peak, a black hole that devoured everything instantly appeared in the center of the explosion. After the big explosion of the red giant body, everything within its range, including Kong Long's already extinct soul, was all absorbed into the black hole and turned into nothingness. No one knew which space and time it was eternally sealed in. What a pitiful worm, to think that you're the overlord of the upper realm. The arrogant man spat disdainfully on the ground. You've already been declared dead by God, yet you still want to drag out an ignoble existence. How naive. The two-headed dragon Guang's expression was extremely ugly. He never thought that the Night Empress would not forget to kill Kong Long before she left. Now he had lost another companion. Compared to the Black Terror demon race, although they were slightly better, compared to the Nine-Head clan, they no longer had an advantage. What kind of bad luck was today? Why were all the people who died were his companions? There were also many people from the Nine-Head clan, as well as the Black Terror demon race. Especially that arrogant brat. He was very hateful. Why didn't anyone kill them? The more the two-headed dragon Guong thought about it, the angrier he got. He really wanted to find someone to beat up to vent the depression in his heart. The arrogant man stared at him provocatively, with a cocky look on his face that said, "If you have the guts, try throwing a punch at me." If it was any other time, the two-headed dragon Guong would have already killed you. However, right now, he really had to endure it for a while. Because on the other side, the eyes of the 5 people from the Nine-Head clan were filled with evil intentions. Chapter 1263. In the chessboard space, under the pine tree, in front of the stone table, the middle-aged scholar held a white chess piece in his hand as he stood in front of the chessboard. He looked down at it for a long time before an irrepressible rage flashed in the depths of his eyes. He waved his large sleeves gently, and the scenes from the previous 10 or so areas reappeared. When the middle-aged scholar saw the female barbarian bull who had rushed into the ancient passage to hunt down divine General Tian Ma and forcefully twisted off the head of one of his 18 divine generals, he couldn't help but growl. "You're still the same you from back then. Supreme Gene, what have you done?" Titan Yu's guardian beast was still alive. As the master of this female barbarian cow, the Yu clan's 3rd young master could not have died in battle. In other words, Supreme Gene had not killed this young Titan Yu at all. He had used the radiance of the polar day to deceive his eyes. Damn it. The middle-aged scholar was not one to get angry easily, but right now, he could not help but pick up an important chess piece that represented Supreme Gene from the chessboard and crush it with all his might. If it was merely out of protection, Supreme Gene could not bear to kill Titan Yu and had used the radiance of the polar day to toss him into a strange space that no one knew about, so that the Yu clan's 3rd young master would never be able to return to the Tong Tian Tower. That would be fine, and it would barely meet the bottom line in his heart. However, that did not seem to be the case. Supreme Gene had used the radiance of the polar day to send Titan Yu to a place that he could not find. Aside from protecting him, he also had the intention of using his divine sense to help him ascend to the godly state. The words that he had said when he had attacked sounded very wrong. This old friend of his who owed him a huge favor actually disregarded their 10,000 years of friendship disregarded as 10,000 years of meticulous planning. And in the middle of the battlefield, he gave that young man, who was so lucky that it made others jealous of him, enlightenment to the divine realm. He even risked using his greatest divine power to send that young man away, even though he had seen through him, so that that young man could have a safe environment to settle and improve. Was this really what an old friend should do? If he had known earlier, it would have been better if he had not summoned Supreme Gene from the heaven realm. This debt, he had used the wrong timing. Now, after losing Supreme Jin's most important chess piece, the chessboard is now completely empty, leaving behind countless unpredictable flaws and irreversible dangers. Fortunately, in the grand scheme of things, his white chess pieces still held an absolute advantage. Even though he had lost the chess piece that represented Supreme Gene, he still had enough chess pieces to achieve victory in the end. Don't think that I will fail without you. Supreme Gene, you're not as important as you think you are. You want to set up a trap? Impossible. The middle-aged scholar placed another chess piece on the chessboard and regained his composure. No one can turn the tables under my schemes. In chess, I will always be an undefeatable existence, be it in the past, present, or future. Meanwhile, Yu Yang opened his eyes and found himself lying on a stone step. A supreme power of the ancient laws made him feel as heavy as lead, unable to move easily. It was as if moving a finger or blinking an eye required all the strength in his body to do so. Where is this? Why have I never seen this place before? Besides, why does this place look similar to the world tree in the stairway to heaven? He had a splitting headache. In his previous memories, he had been sent flying by Supreme Gene of the three-legged Golden Crow tribe from the Tang Valley with one punch. How had he allowed Supreme Gene to fight his way here? He had thought that he had been thrown into a space-time crack and would not be able to find his way back to Tong Tian Tower. He never thought that he had not left at all. The world tree. This must be the world tree in the stairway to heaven. However, how many steps does it have? How could it have such a heavy power of laws? Even someone as strong as me, whose powers have far surpassed the true God rank, has been suppressed to the point of suffocation. Could this be more than 500,000 steps? This is 1,000,000 steps. A voice that made Yu Yang so happy that he almost jumped up rang in his ears. Yu Yang struggled with all his might. He turned around and saw a familiar, yet unfamiliar figure standing there quietly. It was familiar because this was a back that he could never forget. It was strange because this back was so different from what he knew in the past. He couldn't believe it, so he couldn't help but have this contradictory illusion of familiarity and strangeness. It was Ji Zun. It was the extraordinary woman that everyone in Tong Tian Tower called Ji Zun. She did not turn around, just like before. Except for the first time when she appeared in the Shang Wu camp as a guide, she usually liked to turn her back to him. Perhaps it was because she wanted to protect his pride as a little man, but she did not want to show her master's face. She did not want to see him look up to her, because he could not surpass his supreme will. She, who could look down on all living beings. She was unwilling to see him among those living beings. No one had ever desired Yu Yang to grow as fast as she did. Only when he grew up quickly and replaced her as the new Ji Zun, the new guardian of Tong Tian Tower, could she be slightly free. I said that I'll wait for you on the 1,000,000 steps. When Ji Zun said that, Yu Yang remembered. That's right, she had said that. She had even said that if he was successful, she would give him a chance to pursue her. Cough, I was muddle-headed. I don't know how I got here. Yu Yang scratched the back of his head and smiled embarrassedly. You idiot, I was the one who pulled you up. You let Supreme Gene punch into the heaven stairway's space-time crack. I spent a lot of effort to pull you to my side. Did you think that Supreme Gene would be so kind as to send you here? Besides, he doesn't have that ability. No one can cross the heaven stairway's law. I pulled you to my side because this is a secret. You don't need to know the truth. If Ji Zun said it was a secret, then no matter how curious Yu Yang was, there was nothing he could do. If she was unwilling to say it, it would be harder than ascending to heaven to get the truth out of her. Is that so? No matter what, I still made it to the 1,000,000 steps. Yu Yang grasped this point. When he reached the 1,000,000 steps, he could pursue her. It didn't matter how he did it. As long as he did it, it would be fine. Anyway, it wasn't the first time he acted shamelessly. I don't care, you have to walk it again. Jizun felt that this brat was insincere and wanted more. I can't be. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. Climb it again? How much time would that take? Let's not talk about whether he could climb up this terrifying 1,000,000 steps. Even if he could, who knows how much time it would take. Even if he managed to climb up, he might not be able to win against the ancient peoples we'll hear. It wasn't easy to climb up, but it didn't count. This was too pitiful. Yu Yang wanted to find an excuse, such as the Heaven Realm Army's invasion. He didn't have the time to climb up. Of course, this couldn't be said to be a good reason. If he didn't have the time now, he could climb it in the future. Moreover, if he didn't climb it himself, it wouldn't count. He would be in the wrong if he tried to argue. Just when Yu Yang didn't know how to persuade her, Jizun suddenly waved her hand lightly. Don't talk about that. Now, think about how to deal with the crisis of Tong Tian Tower first. That traitor from the east, who has been plotting for thousands of years, won't be defeated so easily. He should have many cards up his sleeves that we don't know about. We must have more powerful strength, otherwise we won't be able to fight him to the end. Also, even if we defeat the east, the deity shrines, Jizun, Tianyu, will definitely attack immediately. While you haven't fully grown up, while we are at our weakest after the battle, that will be the best time for him to attack. I also know that this battle will be very difficult. Yu Yang nodded, but was not discouraged. Clench your teeth. The difficulties will eventually pass. I dare say that if we don't have enough threat, they won't attack so early. As long as we make good use of our advantages, victory will belong to us in the end. You have the protection of the Celestial Clan. Of course I know that. Jizun pondered for a moment, and then softly denied. Victory will belong to you in the end. That's definitely true, but it may not belong to Tong Tian Tower. What? Yu Yang was shocked when he heard this. My divine, I can't see the future of this battle. I believe that you will win in the end, but I can't see what kind of price you will have to pay in the process. Maybe many people will fall, and among those people might be me, or maybe Night Empress and Your Majesty, or maybe those little girls around you. Listen to me, Yu Yang. If you're not strong enough, you will not be able to control the power of destiny. Once you can't control the power of destiny, then you will be dominated by destiny and struggle under the divine power of others. In that case, how can you ensure the safety of your loved ones? No, I will never let that happen. Yu Yang was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He simply couldn't imagine it. Even if one of the people around him died in this battle, it was a result that he absolutely couldn't accept. So, not only do you need to have the power to control your own destiny, you also need to have the power to control the destiny of others. You're not just you. You still have your family, your lover, you still have your companions, your followers standing beside you, standing behind you. There are thousands of relatives and friends. These people's destinies must be in your hands. Then they will be safe. Can you fully understand what I mean? Can you fully understand the responsibility you want to bear and the true meaning of life that you are carrying out? If you understand, then you need to understand another point, and that is how much power you should have in order to protect and control the destinies of so many people. Jizun's words made Yu Yang sweat profusely. He knew that he had super strong power, but, to be honest, he really didn't know how strong he was. Until now, when he was out of control and in a berserk state, he was far stronger than he was in his usual state. This also proved one point. Up until today, he had already been promoted to this level, but he was still far from reaching his limit and was far from reaching all the power that he should have mastered. He had infinite potential, but there was no way to use it. Could it be that he had to watch the traitor of Tong Tian Tower in the east and that fellow Tianyu of the temple persecute his relatives and friends, and he was powerless to stop it? No, this was definitely not what he wanted to see. This was not a game, and there was no possibility of resurrection. If he wanted his family and loved ones to live by his side, he had to keep them alive. He had to use the power that he could not control to defeat the enemy, to repel the invaders, to defend his home, and to protect his family and loved ones. Yang clenched his fists tightly. He took a deep breath. He tried his best to calm his emotions down and return to a clear state without distractions. Then, he looked at Jizun calmly. Please teach me, what should I do? This is exactly what I want to tell you. One day, there was a young mother who was so unique that even I felt ashamed of myself. She found me and told me some truths about the future that I didn't understand at that time and couldn't pry into. Until one day, I finally climbed 1,000,000 steps. Here, I got all the secrets that she left here. I finally understood, and all the secrets were revealed in front of me. I also knew what I should do. On this heaven ladder of 1,000,000 steps, I will pass everything that mother taught me on her behalf, without reservation, to her son. Moreover, I will also follow that mother's request and assist her son until he becomes an eternal existence, the unprecedented number one person in Tong Tian Tower, the true supreme divine sovereign. Jizun said as she turned around. That person is you. Her peerless heavenly face showed a smile that made Yu Yang's soul tremble. Her divine eyes could look into the depths of his heart and intertwine with his soul. Without any words, Yu Yang could receive all of her thoughts and consciousness. Are you ready to shoulder the responsibility that you are willing to bear and the power of destiny that you should control? Yu Yang walked over, no longer having any restraints and influence. He, who was connected with her, directly hugged the strongest person in Tong Tian Tower, the human Jizun who was respected by the world. I choose to control destiny, everyone's destiny, whether it's my own, yours, or Night Empress's or His Majesty's. I will not let Wu Xia and Qian Qian fall in front of me. No one can take away their destiny in front of me. They belong to me forever. Chapter 1264. Not to mention controlling the power of the entire giant of destiny, not to mention developing your endless potential. As long as you can control the power of the 1,000-meter-high giant of destiny in a conscious state, it will be enough to defeat the East. Jizun, who had the divine eyes and could see most of the truth, made a judgment for Yu Yang. According to my cultivation speed, how long do you think it will take for me to control the power of the 1,000-meter-high giant of destiny in a conscious state? Yu Yang asked. 3 years. Jizun pondered for a moment. Then how much time do we have now? Yu Yang's forehead was full of sweat when he heard this. With the East's suspicion, we only have 3 days at most. When Jizun said this, Yu Yang almost fainted. A task that would take at least 3 years. How could it be completed in 3 days? Even if he was a legendary genius that appeared once in 10,000 years, he didn't have this ability. This was simply too difficult. It was simply an impossible cultivation task. If it was any other time, Yu Yang would definitely give up. This was not a matter of effort and attitude at all. What could he do in 3 days? Even if he could break it into 10 parts every second, and each part could be improved once, 3 days would not be enough to master the power that would take 3 years to master. To be honest, Yu Yang felt that excluding the time for eating, playing, resting, and so on, he might not even have 3 years of cultivation since he transmigrated. Besides, his cultivation included sleeping. In the dream world, he practiced hard with Koki no Koki, unlike others, which was a waste of time to sleep, to calculate in this way. Wouldn't he have to start from zero again, from a good-for-nothing, and then reach the quasi-god realm for a long time before he could control the power of the 1,000-meter-high giant of destiny in a conscious state? Yu Yang wanted to optimistically say that this was a piece of cake, and he could take it down in half a day, but he really couldn't say that kind of big talk. In order to buy you 3 days, Yu has put her life on the line. In order to attract the enemy's attention, she changed her usual fighting habits and fought with the God State overlords of the central shrine in an aggressive manner. If you can't control the power of destiny and time, then she will definitely die. Because the ones attacking her are not only the 3 godly state experts who plotted against Princess Starlight in the past, but also Dongfang and Tianyu. They will definitely not let her, who has already advanced to the godly state, leave the heavenly stairway alive. Jizun's words made it impossible for Yu Yang to escape. If he gave it his all, it was highly likely that he would still fail in the end. However, If he didn't even dare to fight and just sat there and waited for failure, could he still be considered a man? Although Jizun only took the Night Empress as an example, in fact, there were also Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai. If they failed, then they would all fall. There was also His Majesty who maintained the mirage and guarded the god's ruins, as well as Fourth Mother who had been looking forward to his return home with little Shuang-er. They were no exception. If that was the case, even if he won in a few years or decades, he would not be able to win. What was the point of that? Yu Yang clenched his fists tightly. In order to protect this hard-won happiness, in order to protect everyone's sweet smiles, 3 days was 3 days. As long as there was hope, he had to persevere. This was the time that everyone was fighting for. Even if it was just a second, he had to cherish it and not give up easily. Difficult, but he definitely could. I can do it. I can definitely do it. In 3 days, I will definitely be able to control the power of the Giant of Destiny. I will definitely not let everyone down. Who am I? I am the abnormal genius of Yu Clan's third young master in Tong Tian Tower. I am a genius that appears once in 10,000 years. I am a genius that creates countless miracles. No, even if I am an ordinary person, a trash, as long as there is hope, as long as I believe in miracles and destiny, I can also control it in my own hands. I am its master. I'm not its servant. I am the master of my own life. I can control everything. I can. Yu Yang roared towards the sky. His voice was like thunder. His body was trembling with excitement. That was not fear. It was an eruption of willpower that burned to the limit. A kind of self-transcending, infinite life force was being awakened and sublimated. Jizun looked into his eyes at this time and felt truly satisfied. She felt gratified and relieved. In order to encourage him to grow, her task was actually 100 times more difficult than the Night Empress's desperate fight against a strong enemy. The Night Empress could not fail, and she could not fail even more. If the Night Empress who risked her life against a strong enemy failed, only the Night Empress would fall. But if she failed, then the result was very likely to be a complete loss. Those little girls who accompanied him might not survive. Because of such a setback, his temperament might also change greatly. He would no longer be the energetic, thriving, and growing Yu Clan's third young master today. If that was the case, maybe he would become a mad demon and slaughter the heaven realm. In the end, he would be deeply sealed by the ancient great god, never to come out again. That kind of result was not what he wanted, nor was it what everyone wanted. Fortunately, he did not let everyone down. Even if it was the most difficult and challenging task in the world, he faced it fearlessly. With this kind of mentality, this kind of motivation, and this kind of persistence, he would definitely succeed in the end because this would be one of the countless miracles he would create in his life. A person who grasped his own fate would never be abandoned by fate because he was the master of his own fate. You will succeed as long as you believe in miracles, as long as you always have hope in your heart. You will never fail. Jizun opened her arms and gently hugged him in her arms. She used her heart and her own support to give him endless comfort. I will also help you, using the secret method that your mother taught me, and everyone will give you support. You will definitely succeed. Yu Yang raised his head and looked at the sky. He was afraid that if he lowered his head, the warmth in his eyes would drip down. In his hazy vision, there seemed to be a sweet, smiling face staring at him from high up in the sky. In a trance, he could not see her appearance clearly, but vaguely, it was like the loving shadow that he would occasionally see in his dreams. Mother, is that you? Is it you who has been watching me from the sky? Tong Tian Tower, 7th floor, Dream Spinning Valley, Charmed Demon Palace. When Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, Shui Tanlang, Prince of Tian Luo, and the others rushed to the Charmed Demon Palace in Dream Spinning Valley, they found that it had become a battlefield of blood and fire. Thousands of Heaven Realm soldiers surged up like a tide, attacking the mountain gate of the Charmed Demon Palace. Unlike Tong Tian Tower Thunder Fortress and other places that had no resistance, the Charmed Demon clan, under the leadership of the Queen and the 4 high priests, fought to the death. This courage, this fighting spirit, made Fatty Hai and Yi Kong, these dignified men, feel ashamed. There were not many races in the entire Tong Tian Tower that dared to resist the Heaven Realm army, even if the invaders were just some vassal soldiers. They were not the elite army of the Central Shrine. In the battle that shook the sky, countless charmed demon clan and Heaven Realm army fell. The battle was in a suffocating stalemate. Both sides gritted their teeth, not taking a step back. The charmed demon clan wanted to protect their home, while the Heaven Realm army wanted to protect the Heaven Realm army because there was a divine general standing behind them. Divine General Tian Chung, a divine general who came specially to wait for Tong Tian Tower's charmed demon palace and had a charmed demon queen as his guardian beast, Tian Fa. Among the 18 divine generals, Divine General Tian Chung was definitely not the strongest, nor the smartest. He was not even the most trusted by the Eastern Palace Master. However, he was definitely the one who dared to fight the most among the 18 divine generals. In order to obtain more merits, in order to win the appreciation of the Lord, in order to pave a bright future, he chose the Charmed Demon Palace, which had the highest risk, destroying the home of Tian Fa, offending one of the strongest in Tong Tian Tower. Without a bit of adventurous spirit, he really did not dare to do it. As long as one was not an idiot with just a bit of information, one would know that Titan Yu was not the only strong person in Tong Tian Tower. For example, Jizun, Sky Execution, Tian Fa, Dragon Emperor, Emperor of the Underworld, and so on. Under Titan Yu's leadership, they all advanced by leaps and bounds, even killing their way up to Heaven Realm. Perhaps Tian Fa had not risen to the level of a divine general yet, but with her reputation, whether it was the most powerful divine, General Ziwei, the most intelligent divine, General Tianji, or even the leader of the 18 divine generals, the Eastern Palace Master, none of them underestimated the strength of this Tian Fa. Unfortunately, Divine General Tian Chung sent his vassal clans to attack for a long time. That Tian Fa still did not appear. She must have received an SOS. Why didn't she come? Divine General Tian Chung did not arrogantly think that the other party was afraid of him. Instead, he was sure that this Tian Fa must have gone to fight against a stronger Heaven Realm ranker. Could it be that Tian Fa was going to challenge a Heaven Realm big shot? If she really had that kind of strength, then perhaps he should consider retreating. Look, there's a golden-shelled insect. Fatty Hai shouted at Divine General Tian Chung, relying on the ancient forest and ancient thistle's blessings. Stop being so long-winded. Yi Kong kicked Fatty Hai's butt, sending him flying towards Divine General Tian Chung. On the other side of the ground, Prince of Tian Luo and Shui Tan Lang soared into the sky. As for the Li brothers, they hurriedly rushed toward the succubus clan's most vulnerable area. They were well aware of their own strength and what they should do. Now was not the best time to gang up on a god general. They had to give the exhausted succubus race a little help and break the stalemate of the battle. Divine General Tian Chung turned into a ray of golden light and instantly teleported 10,000 meters away. He easily dodged the combined attacks of Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, Shui Tan Lang, and Prince of Tian Luo. Looking at the incredulous expression on Fatty Hai's face, he sneered, "I'm not like that idiot sun god general. That arrogant fellow, no matter if it's his status or his strength, they all benefited from his ancestors. He's an inherited noble child, so he doesn't know what cultivation is. I'm completely different from him. I've cultivated from a most basic level, step by step. Do you understand? In the Heaven Realm, I'm even more grassroots than you guys, even more difficult than you guys. I understand all of your thoughts, because I also fought my way up, even without a boss like Titan Yu's guidance. Hey, I'm the boss, okay? Titan Yu is my little brother. This is a publicly acknowledged fact in Tong Tian Tower. If you don't believe me, go ask around in a place with no one." Fatty Hai boasted again. "Idiot. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak." Yi Kong punched this annoying fellow away. Shui Tan Lang frowned. This was definitely a troublesome enemy. Different from the Sun God General. This divine general did not seem to have the arrogance and condescension of the sun god general. A divine general who had no weaknesses and was cautious. This battle was going to be hard to fight. Prince Tianluo also used a secret message to remind everyone to be careful. Instead of mocking Fatty Hai's boasting, Divine General Tian Xing clapped his hands and praised, "Haida Fu, I've collected information on you. You were originally a coward who loved to boast, but after Titan Yu's influence, you've changed. You've shed your mortal body and changed your bones, becoming a brave and crazy warrior. It's just that you're cunning and shameless. You habitually use your fat body, wretched appearance, and annoying words and deeds to conceal yourself, purposely revealing flaws to lure the enemy into your trap. Listen, Fatty Hai, if the trick you use to deceive the Sun God General is useful against me, then it's too ridiculous. I've done the same trick before, and I've done it even better than you. No matter what, you and your companions are all worthy opponents. You're all so young, but you already have such strength. This is something I couldn't even compare to back then. I know what you want to do, but I can say it clearly. Before the God's blessing on your bodies dissipates, I won't fight with you. I'm not an idiot." Hearing this, Yikong remained silent for a long time. Fatty Hai wanted to attack again, but was stopped by Divine General Tian Xing. His face carried a kind of sincerity that was rarely seen when facing an enemy. He slowly spoke to Divine General Tian Xing in front of him. "You know us like the back of your hand. Since that's the case, why did you still come to Tong Tian Tower? Why do you want to become enemies with us? You should know what kind of person the Yu Clan third young master is. He's a man who creates miracles, the new prison emperor, the new conquering king who will sweep through the heaven realm in the future. Why did you still come?" Divine General Tian Xing muttered to himself. He looked up at the sky again, as if afraid that there was a pair of eyes watching him from the sky. He confirmed again, and finally made up his mind. He spoke with the same sincerity. "To be honest, I sympathize with your plight. If my homeland was invaded by outsiders, I would also fight to the death. However, I came here because of the irresistible power of fate. I had no choice. If I didn't come, everything that belonged to me in the heaven realm would cease to exist. I don't have the power to control my own fate. I don't have the right to rely on others. For my own survival, for my family and friends, I have to do something that I can't resist. This is my answer. If I die in battle, I won't have any regrets because this is the ending that I deserve. Of course, I personally believe that the chances of me losing this battle are extremely small, because perhaps all of you still don't know how terrifying the Eastern First Hall Master is." He paused for a moment. Struggle and hesitation appeared on his face. But in the end, Divine General Tian Ho still chose to say it out loud. He lowered his voice to the softest possible, almost as thin as a thread. His words reached Yikong and the others' ears. The Eastern Palace Lord has an innate ability that combines with his godhood. He can even control gods. In his chess game, no one can escape the fate of becoming a chess piece, including me and all of you. Back then, the prison emperor was defeated by his chess game. You have no chance of winning. Your only hope is that Titan Yu. He's an existence that can devour the power of fate. However, he's too young and doesn't have enough time to grow. This is his fatal weakness. If he had 100 more years, everything will be different. However, the Eastern Palace Master won't give him this time. As an enemy, it sounds ridiculous to say this. However, seeing that we've also struggled with fate, I'll give you a piece of advice. Quickly find a place to hide. Grimoire World or Sealed Space. In any case, it's a place where you can escape the fate of being a chess piece. As long as you can hold on for 100 years and wait for Titan Yu to grow, there's hope. Before Divine General Tian Cheng could finish speaking, a cold and emotionless voice suddenly rang out from the horizon. "No one can escape from my chessboard, including that Titan you mentioned. Don't waste your efforts." Chapter 1265. Hearing this voice, Divine General Tian Ho's expression changed. Fatty Hai, Yikong, and the others. They were all dumbstruck. This was the East. The traitor who had betrayed Tong Tian Tower 10,000 years ago. Such a degenerate fellow was actually a God-state expert. Furthermore, he had such a perverted innate skill. Was there still justice in this world? It was one thing for such a powerful and perverted fellow to not protect his own homeland, but to willingly become a traitor who led outsiders to invade his homeland and wreak havoc. What kind of person was this? Could this guy be a psychopath? Divine General Tian Ho immediately knelt down. His forehead beaded with sweat, his eyes filled with boundless fear. His entire body was trembling, spirit, on the verge of collapse. He knelt in the direction of the voice in a reverent, almost pious manner, his forehead touching the ground. Tian Chung, I'm giving you a chance because of your hard work. You have to remember one thing. In this world, there are many powerful people, and even more people who desire opportunities. If someone is unwilling to be a chess piece and wants to jump out of the chessboard, then he is destined to become an abandoned chess piece. Furthermore, there will never be a lack of qualified pawns in this world. Every second, there are countless pawns yearning to enter the chessboard and willingly serve the chess master. This is my last chance for you, and my last advice to you. You don't have the ability to play chess, so you must be an obedient pawn. As a pawn, it has no thoughts. Any pawn with thoughts is not a good pawn. If a pawn has thoughts, then it's not far from the day it becomes an abandoned pawn. The voice from the distant horizon was very soft, but it struck Tian Cheng's heart like a thunderclap. He was so frightened that he didn't dare to move. He could only kneel in the most respectful manner to please his master and quell his destructive rage. The voice from the horizon did not give Divine General Tian Ho any restrictions. With that, it vanished without a trace. It was as if it had never appeared. However, Divine General Tian Cheng's expression changed, and so did his attitude. He became crazed and bloodthirsty. He slowly stood up and looked at Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the others. His gaze had already turned into that of a wounded beast. I, Tian Chung, am a qualified chess piece. All enemies who stand in front of me must die. Are you crazy? Fatty Hai cried out in shock. Yes, I've already gone mad. It was you who forced me to go mad. I was originally a qualified chess piece without any thoughts, but you made me, a chess piece that had been a puppet state for 1,000 years, have thoughts. This is very dangerous. This almost destroyed my entire life and my entire family. Now, I want to say my last words to all of you. You only have 10 minutes left to live. With that said, Divine General Tian Ho shook his hands. The vassal soldiers of the Heaven Realm, who were fighting fiercely on the ground, all emitted a strange red light. It was like a steaming fire. Yet, she was as beautiful as a flower. The expressions of these Heaven Realm soldiers revealed an extremely joyful and cheerful expression. One by one, they stood motionless like statues with distorted faces. Even if the female succubus warriors knocked them down and beheaded them, there was no pain on their faces when their heads fell to the ground. There was only endless excitement and joy. That expression was an indescribable bliss. It was even more fanatical and crazed than the extreme joy of many men and women. If a random Heaven Realm soldier had that kind of expression, then Fatty Hai and the others would think that the Charm Demon clan had used their innate ability to steal souls. However, all the random Heaven Realm soldiers had that kind of expression. The scene was so strange that it really made them feel cold. In less than 3 seconds, all the succubus warriors reacted. Even those who had gone mad from killing would be scared to the point of shivering when they saw such a terrifying scene. Retreat. This should be a sacrifice. The succubus queen hurriedly ordered the entire clan to retreat. Hurry, leave this place and go to the 4th floor of Tong Tian Tower. There will be people there to receive you. Prince Tian Luo couldn't care less about divulging military intelligence. Anyway, this couldn't be hidden for long. It was better to inform everyone as soon as possible, especially that Dong Fong, who had the innate ability to use heaven and earth as a chess piece. It was impossible to secretly say that it was impossible. It was simply wishful thinking to hide such a big matter like the migration of the succubus clan from him. However, Duo had brought this plan to Dean Shui Donglu in the first place. She had never thought of hiding it from the eyes and ears of the Celestial Realm Army. None of you can leave. All of you must die. Divine General Tian Chung raised his hands high. The Heaven Realm soldiers below him emitted a burst of red light. Thousands of red light lines connected to his hands. Countless life energy gathered in his palms and on top of his head. Nearly 10,000 Heaven Realm soldiers were like blooming epiphyllum. They withered in an instant. In the end, the Heaven Realm soldiers who had their life energy sucked dry by Divine General Tian Chung turned into dried corpses and fell to the ground. Their heads and withered limbs scattered all over the ground. Divine General Tian Chung, who had obtained the life energy of 10,000 people, did not greedily devour it like the other Heaven Realm warriors. Instead, he twisted the bewitching blood-red ball of life energy into several balls and threw them at Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, Shui Tan Lang, Prince Tian Luo, and the Li brothers. Fatty Hai and the others jumped out of the attack range. However, these bewitching blood-red balls of energy were like maggots that couldn't be shaken off no matter how hard they tried. These bewitching balls of energy were extremely fast and tracked automatically. Once they hit the bodies of Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the others, they immediately produced an incomparably mysterious pollution. This pollution did not affect Fatty Hai and the others, but the blessings of the ancient forest and ancient thorns that Duo had bestowed upon them had disappeared like the tide. Divine General Tian Chung used this kind of life sacrifice to successfully eliminate the blessing of the flower goddess Duo. The only price he had to pay was the lives of nearly 10,000 Heaven Realm soldiers. You've completely gone mad. Fatty Hai sighed inaudibly. Actually, he had already guessed that this would be the result from the moment his opponent made his move. I'm now a chess piece without any thoughts. In order to win, I can do anything. I can disregard everything. This is me. This is what I need to do. A hint of pain flashed in the depths of Divine General Tian Cheng's eyes. But very quickly, what replaced it was savagery and bloodthirstiness. Die. Without the god's blessings, it's impossible for you to last more than 3 minutes against me. Similarly, in the 7th floor of Tong Tian Tower, Fire Island. This was the Sea Clan's territory where Yu Yang and Aquamarine had first met. It was the most precious place in the new female Ocean Empress life. In this place, not only did she get to know the most important man in her life, she was also fortunate enough to obtain the recognition of her father, the Ocean Empress, and obtain the inheritance of the Ocean Empress. From a lonely and destitute, illegitimate daughter, she became the female Ocean Empress that the entire Sea Clan of Tong Tian Tower worshipped. Since the day she met him, her life had completely changed. From then on, she embarked on a path to become the Ocean Empress that she had never dared to imagine, not even in her dreams. She knew that Fire Island was also a place of fortune for him. Here, he obtained the Mother Earth potion that only appears once every 10,000 years, which further accelerated his originally unimaginable growth rate, until he entered the trial grounds to train. Even after he completed the trial grounds, the potential of the Mother Earth potion sealed in his body had not been completely absorbed. Forget about the family and friends he had obtained here. Forget about the treasures and secrets he had obtained here. As long as she remembered the time when she hugged his leg and begged him to grant her another half an hour of happiness, she would never forget this blue sea and fiery island, compared to the tall meteorite islands in the 10th floor of Tong Tian Tower, compared to the magnificent Ocean Empress Palace. She liked this place even more. Fire Island. A small island that was filled with gratitude in her life and memories. It was also a warm little home that would make her smile whenever she thought of it. However, when Aquamarine brought her companions and rushed to this beautiful island that had once turned her fate into a journey of happiness and fortune, she realized that this place had really become a fire island. All the buildings and scenery on the island were burning in the raging fire. The 10,000 ships that were originally floating on the island had turned into tens of thousands of fireboats. The thick black smoke was like the mouth of a terrifying demon, devouring the beautiful sky of the sea. The sea that was originally blue like a gem was now dyed blood red by the fire. Just like Aquamarine's eyes now. Ha! It's finally here, it's finally here. What's going on with the lives in Tong Tian Tower? Are they all a bunch of stubborn fools? For some buildings, some inanimate objects, they actually risk their lives to come here. In this world, is there anything more important than their own lives? Forget it. I'd better not delve too deeply into these things. There's a good saying, never try to understand a fool's thinking, because it's simply a mystery that can't be solved. A divine general who was hidden in the thick smoke and flames saw Aquamarine, Bai Lu, and Raging Flame Regiment leader flying over. He immediately jumped out of the smoke and laughed wildly. Aquamarine didn't look at him. She just looked at the irreversible raging fire on the island with tears in her eyes. My name is Tian Tong. If you obediently surrender, then this divine general can let you suffer a little less. If you're not obedient enough, I don't mind telling you what is the real torture of the heavenly realm. The divine general, who claimed to be Tian Tong, made a gesture of loosening his grip. His expression was arrogant, as if his daughter had become the father-in-law of the empress. I'm really not happy. I'll break your bones alive. Raging Flame Regiment leader had not called herself a master for a long time. It seemed that she was really angry now. TSK, with just you? Divine General Tian Tong realized that this girl who called herself Master was one of the twin sisters behind the Ocean Empress. She looked like a weak little girl, but her fighting power was as weak as a chicken. She really didn't know what death was. Didn't the adults in your family teach you what fear is? Transform. Raging Flame Regiment leader put on the black tortoise armor specially made for her by Yu Yang, and instantly returned to the appearance of a female giant. In her hands, she raised the Prison Emperor's 7 stars pillar that Yu Yang usually provided for everyone to train. It came crashing down on his head. The dumbfounded divine, General Tian Tong, didn't even have time to react before he was smashed into the ground by the unstoppable pillar. Chapter 1266. Tong Tian Tower, 4th floor. This was the divine Grimoire Sky Island that Yu Yang had secretly visited, the entrance to the outside world of Bailuo Palace, an extremely secretive ancient teleportation circle. Even the Black Hell King didn't know that there was such a secret entrance. He had always mistakenly thought that he had the secret of the divine Grimoire alone. Who knew that the divine Grimoire protected by the Golden Shield had already been moved out by Yu Yang's family of Little Lolis. After the death of the Black Hell King, the secret of the divine Grimoire space was only in the hands of Yu Yang. Not many people knew about it, because the teleportation circle on the 3rd floor had already collapsed and was unusable, and the other secret teleportation circles were destroyed by Yu Yang. This secret entrance to the 4th floor was actually the only entrance to the divine Grimoire space. At this moment, Lu Yi and Yu were standing at this entrance. They were standing at this entrance. Their mission was to prepare to receive their relatives and friends who needed refuge, and enter the divine Grimoire space that existed completely in void to avoid the flames of war. For example, the elite students of Ivy Academy and Shangjing Academy, or the old, young, women, and children of the 4 great families led by the Yu clan and the Dixia royal family. At the same time, there were also those peaceful golden elves who weren't battle-type golden elves, as well as Yu Yang's followers in the Thunder Fortress. It was impossible to say that they didn't suffer any losses during the Tong Tian Tower's calamitous Heaven Realm army invasion. But no matter what, they couldn't go all out. They had to keep some of the younger generation as the seeds to extend their bloodline. The races that were not good at fighting and the old, young, women, and women faced even the worst Heaven Realm army. It was a dead end. They shouldn't be allowed to participate in the battle between the strong. Yu Yang was now facing a great enemy and couldn't be distracted. He didn't have time to pay attention to these things. Fortunately, Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai took the initiative to bear this responsibility for him. After all, he was the new generation guardian of Tong Tian Tower. If all the races fought to the end and everything was exhausted in the battle, then even if they won in the end, they wouldn't be able to rebuild their homes on the ruins. There had to be someone to have everything. It was impossible to pull all the races in Tongtian Tower here to hide from the flames of war. Even if they all came, the Divine Grimoire space would not be able to hold them all. However, Yu and the others only needed to bring Yu Yang's relatives and friends here to hide. What everyone had to deal with was the Eastern Palace Master's targeted attack. The Eastern First Palace Master would temporarily not interfere with the lives of other races that had nothing to do with Yu Yang, even if he wanted to destroy Tongtian Tower in the end. First and foremost, he first targeted Yu Yang's family and friends. Before he defeated Yu Yang, he didn't have the time to touch the countless lives in Tongtian Tower. Too slow. Up until now, why hasn't a single group of people arrived? Lu Yi was extremely anxious. She had already sent out the people in charge of receiving them. However, no matter if it was Red or Thunder Fortress's Future who went to Jadeite Forest or Fallen Flowers who went to Sky Garden, there was no good news. Not to mention Aquamarine who went to Fire Island and Fatty High who went to support the Succubus clan. Don't worry, everyone will be fine. With Duo and Jiangying looking after them, everyone will safely get through the calamity. Yi was also burning with anxiety, but she didn't dare to show it. The more critical the situation, the more she felt that she had to be calm. She was his sister. Therefore, she couldn't mess up at any time. She couldn't cause trouble for him. On the contrary, she had to be his sister and give him the greatest help. In the distant horizon, there was a small black dot flying over. Yu and Lu Yi were nervous. Was it an enemy? Could it be that the Eastern First Palace's subordinates had discovered their secret hiding place? Yu and Lu Yi entered battle mode at the same time. However, a second later, with their extremely sensitive telepathy, they immediately realized that the person in front of them wasn't an enemy, but their comrade. Xiayi, Thunder Fortress. The Battle of Thunder Fortress has ended. Future defeated the enemy smoothly. She went to support Princess Sisai. I used my grimoire to bring the followers of Thunder Fortress. Everyone is fine. Only a few people were injured. Stormfishman Uncle and the others are not willing to come. They want to resist the invasion together with the Great Marshal. Xia Yi was panting a little. With her current strength, she wouldn't feel tired flying at high speed in the fourth floor. However, the war was like a raging fire. The grim situation forced this little girl who was respected by the female Heaven Realm Draconians to be unable to breathe. In the past, with Yu Yang, even if she participated in the war, she didn't have this kind of psychological burden. She only needed to complete her mission step by step. But now, without Yu Yang by her side, there was no longer that pillar of support for her life. Moreover, the situation was unprecedentedly grim. It made her, who could only bravely fight, feel extremely pressured. Fortunately, there was still Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai to bear most of the pressure. It was enough for her to do her part. Otherwise, if all the heavy responsibilities were placed on her weak shoulders and she was asked to take charge of the overall situation, it would be strange if she didn't have a mental breakdown. Xiayi, you did well. Very well. It's all right now. Bring everyone into rest. Remember to encourage everyone. With us here, we can guarantee that no enemy can enter and threaten everyone's safety. Don't worry, we are also very good. We are also very safe. Go in, we will be fine. Yu gave this Heaven Realm Draconia hug. Using the most gentle voice, she comforted and soothed the nervousness and fear in Xiayi's heart. Although she was also very uneasy, she didn't want to show a trace of weakness in front of Xia, Yi, and Lu Yi. She was not only his sister, but also everyone's big sister. When he was not here, she had to shoulder the responsibility of being a big sister and lead everyone out of the predicament and danger. With Yu Yu's comfort, Xia Yi's pale face regained some color. She buried her head in Yu Yu's arms and cried for half a minute. After releasing the negative emotions in her heart, she wiped away her tears and nodded to Yu Yu to show that she was fine. On the other side, Lu Yi was stronger than Xia Yi. She didn't cry or panic. On the contrary, the more difficult it was, the calmer she was. Lu Yi was very anxious. She was very anxious, but her actions were completely in accordance with Yu Yang's previous special training. In fact, she did it better and more perfectly. Using her unique talent, She set up a rune circle that was extremely sensitive to the evil aura in every direction within a radius of 30 miles as a warning. Once an enemy invaded, she would be the first to discover it. Someone's here again. Huh. This time it's Bao Air, that little girl. She's really an idiot. She's actually late by a whole hour. Louis realized that the person who rushed over this time was the golden elf big lowly Bao Air. Different from the frightened Xia Yi, Bao Air still had a carefree look on her face, as if she didn't know what fear was. Bao Air, well done. You've done too well. Yu immediately hugged the little mischievous girl who was famous for her luck. With me around, there's nothing that can't be done. This mission is too easy. Bao Air's proud look was like a proud peacock. Not only did I bring my people here, I also went to the Jadeite forest and saved the injured Fan Luan Tai and the others. Haha, I'm a little genius who completed the mission more than I could. Xia Yi heard it and had the urge to slap this little girl. Who asked you to be so meddlesome? You've already completed the mission more than you could have. In Shui Wuxia's plan, it had nothing to do with Bao Air in the first place because this little girl would easily do bad things out of good intentions. If she went back to bring the Golden Elf clan back, she might even be captured by the enemy. However, Xiaonu, who usually didn't participate in battles, volunteered this time and wanted to team up with Bao Air. Her reason was to let Bao Air protect her. This reason really made Bao Air, who always wanted to be a big hero, happy. Even though other than Bao Air herself, everyone knew that Xiaonu wanted to protect this lucky baby. With Pandora, the former goddess of misfortune, who was in the same body as Xiaonu, Bao, this lucky little treasure, was sure that it would be difficult for anything to happen to her. Therefore, Shui Wuxia finally agreed to Bao's mission. At the same time, she felt that she should let this carefree little girl, who only cared about playing all day long, gain some experience so that she would never grow up. When Lu Yi saw that Bao Air came back alone and Xiaonu was nowhere to be seen, she quickly asked, Bao Air, where's Xiaonu? Yeah? Bao Air blinked her big eyes and asked inexplicably, where did Nu go? Xia Yi was speechless again. She must have been lost by you. To think that you patted your little chest and said that you would definitely protect Xiaonu. Fortunately, it was Xiaonu, with Pandora as one. There was no need to be afraid of anything happening, otherwise everyone would be worried to death. Yu hurriedly comforted Bao Air, who was still trying to recall where she lost Xiaonu, hinting her not to think anymore. Xiaonu would definitely come back and let her quickly go to Bao Island to release her clansmen. With Bao Air's grimoire world, which had just been upgraded to a gold grimoire, the Golden Elves would probably not feel good staying there for a long time. No matter if it was her, Lu Yi, or Xia Yi, they were all 100% sure. The reason why this muddle-headed Bao Air could successfully complete the mission was definitely because Xiaonu played an important role behind the scenes. Otherwise, not to mention going to the Jadeite forest in the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower to rescue Fan Luan Tai and her former companions, it was impossible to smoothly return to the Elven forest to pick up her clansmen. God knows how many subordinates that Dong Feng had hidden in Tong Tian Tower. Not to mention those powerful divine generals who could easily destroy everyone's homes. There are countless winged clan traders and heaven realm soldiers who have been bewitched by Dong Feng from the Guangming continent. These despicable lurkers disguised themselves as mercenaries or warriors of Tong Tian Tower. Once a target appeared, they would immediately bare their fangs and viciously attack. When Lu Yi and Yu went from the 4th floor to the teleportation plaza, they encountered 3 waves of lurkers in a short distance. It was just that their combat power was no longer what it used to be. Mere Heaven Realm soldiers, or those hateful traitors of the Winged Clan, were no longer a threat. These lurkers could threaten the lives of Tong Tian Tower's warriors, and even some innate rankers, but that was all. Not to mention Lu Yi, who had the perforate deer, and Yu, who had the Angel of Dawn, even Bao Air, who was usually lazy in cultivation but could always get some benefit from Yang, was not someone that could be stopped by those lurkers. Did anything happen along the way? When Yu sent Bao Air in, she still carefully asked about the process. Nothing. I met a very ugly guy on the way and was almost caught by it. But that guy suddenly went crazy. Inexplicably, I think it must have done too many bad things and receive retribution from heaven. Well, it seems that it was at that time that I lost Nunu. She ran too slowly. Not good. I forgot to protect her. I have to go back to find her. Bauer's words made Xia Yi almost unable to catch her breath. Doing too many bad things and received retribution from heaven? That was basically Xiao Nu. No, it should be said that it was Pandora's punishment, okay? If it wasn't for them, you lucky little baby, you would probably have become that monster's meal. Moreover, you would have to sacrifice the entire Golden Elf clan. However, with luck as her inherent skill, there was really nothing she could do. Even heaven-defying strength couldn't compare to luck. That unknown enemy could only be said to have 18 lifetimes of bad luck to meet a lucky little baby like Bao Er. As for now, those who went against Bao Er really didn't have a good ending. If there was one, then there was only one, and that was Yu Yang, who really had heaven-defying strength. Moreover, even he, who could go against the heavens, often made her angry, but he couldn't do anything to her. This was the power of luck, unparalleled. Chapter 1267. The Periphery of the Gods' Ruins. The Guiding Temple. Half a month ago, several shadows came out of the void to explore the mysterious entrance to the Gods' Ruins. Here, any rune records and any exploration messages were studied by these shadows. Unfortunately, the few shadows, who were extremely well-prepared and had divine powers, were still defeated in this enigmatic place in the end. He tried close to 100 methods, including the use of divine power to force his way in while resisting the laws. All of them failed. No, this damn place is not the entrance to the core of the Gods' Ruins at all. It's really unlucky. I've already said that the real entrance is under the mirage of the Tian Luo Palace. You just didn't believe me and had to waste time here. Now, half a month has passed, and we have gained nothing. We're like blind flies, wandering around here. It's useless. This guiding temple is an ancient scam. I dare say that since ancient times, everyone has been deceived by it. We can't waste any more time here. A fiery red shadow angrily accused his companions. Don't be angry. Things are not bad enough to be angry. There was a very good temper among the shadows. This is the real entrance, not a scam. There was also an extremely stubborn one. If you think this is a scam, then you can leave by yourself. We didn't ask you to stay. Volcano, you can do whatever you want. We won't stop you, but please don't squeak here. This is not only not good for the process, but it will also hurt everyone's morale and annoy us. A purple shadow, who had a completely different view from the fiery red shadow, scolded him rudely. What? Am I holding everyone back by staying here? The fiery red shadow, who was called Volcano by his companions, was very angry. You didn't hold everyone back, but you didn't do anything useful. If I were you, I would be smart to shut up. The purple shadow retorted. Okay, we are all companions. We came for the secret treasure of the Gods' Ruins. Before we get the secret treasure, we should work together instead of blaming each other like this. If that old guy Tian you saw us doing this, it would be strange if he didn't laugh his head off. While Dongfang and Tian, you are busy fighting with the guardians of Tong Tian Tower. We have to hurry up and find the real entrance to harvest the secret treasures. It's very rare for us to have a chance like this. We need to be more precious. Usually, it's not easy to snatch a piece of meat from Sky Chariot's mouth. Now that he's worried about the guardian of Tong Tian Tower, he doesn't dare to show up easily. We need to seize this opportunity. A sapphire blue shadow stood out to be the peacemaker, persuading the fiery red shadow and the purple shadow. Listening to Songhai is the right choice. Volcano, Thunder Roar, you guys should talk less. Also, Dark Cloud, Jinya, you should also help to persuade them. If there is internal strife without even entering the interior of the Gods' Ruins, can you afford to lose face when this matter spreads back to the heaven realm? A silver-white shadow that seemed to be a woman advised softly. I will shut up. The fiery shadow snorted in dissatisfaction. I still insist that the guarding place in Tian Luo Palace is the real entrance. This suspicion is not entirely unreasonable. The dark shadow echoed. If Sky Chariot knows our whereabouts, he can't just sit back and do nothing. Unless this is not the real entrance, it's useless no matter how we explore. Dark Cloud, you are assuming that Sky Chariot is making the final breakthrough. He doesn't even know that we are coming. The emerald green shadow disagreed as soon as he heard it. Anyway, I don't think Sky Chariot is so easy to deceive. Not to mention him, even that cunning Dongfang might have found out about us. It's just that he can't turn us into his chess pieces like he does with others. Who can make a name for themselves in the heaven realm is a fool. No, a real fool would have died of stupidity long ago. How could he live until now? I'm not trying to dampen everyone's morale, nor do I want to deny everyone's exploration goal. It's just that I think we should be careful and cautious. The Dark Shadow also insisted on his opinion. It's not impossible to suspect, but stupid to think too much. The emerald green shadow sneered, mocking the shadow companion called Dark Cloud. I'm not talking to you. The dark shadow Dark Cloud was also very angry. What should we do now? Continue to explore the secret entrance, or turn to the Tian Luo Palace? A golden shadow asked a little confusedly. His question was also what everyone was thinking. Next, what should they do? Now the opinions were divided into two completely different directions. One side felt that this was the real entrance, and they should seize the time to explore the mystery. The other side felt that the real entrance was in another place, and there was no need to waste time here. No matter which direction they went, it would bring about completely different or even completely opposite results. Moreover, acting separately was not something these uninvited, distinguished guests of the heaven realm wanted to see. Even though they all possessed extraordinary divine power, their individual strength paled in comparison to the lofty and unshakable supreme sovereign of the deity's Templar, the heavenly chariot. They also acknowledged this point, and they clearly understood that unless they worked together, it would be impossible for them to resist the sovereign of the deity's Templar. They couldn't act separately, and their opinions were completely opposite. What should they do? All the shadows looked at the most mature and steady sapphire blue shadow, Songhai. Only he had participated in the last battle of Tong Tian Tower for the secret treasure in the God's ruins. Although Songhai was still a small and insignificant character at that time, at least he had participated in the battle of secret treasures that was more ancient than the prison emperor 6,000 years ago and the conquest queen 10,000 years ago. It was also after that battle that Sky Chariot, who had obtained great benefits, truly became the strongest in the central shrine. This is indeed the real entrance. Although I have never entered it, my old friend who died in the battle had once fought here. In order to fight for a place to enter, he ruined his great future and strong life. Compared to him, I was just a weak rookie at that time. I was not qualified to participate at all. I only came because of its reputation. Fortunately, that silly rookie has survived to this day. The sapphire blue shadow Songhai recalled his past with great nostalgia. The strong of Tong Tian Tower in those days were not as weak as they are today. I remember that when I was still in the ancient passage, I was caught by two strong of Tong Tian Tower. With their strength, they could crush me to death without any effort. But they didn't. They even laughed and said that they would give me a chance to live. They even said that they would save some seeds for the invaders from the heaven realm so that they wouldn't kill too much. This is true. The strong of Tong Tian Tower in those days were indeed qualified to say such words. Their strength, how to say it, perhaps everyone here is very confident in their own strength. But to be honest, compared to them in those days, all of us together may not be able to withstand 3 moves from any one of them. What? The fiery red shadow exclaimed in disbelief. Not only him, but all the shadows felt that it was incredible. I'm not exaggerating. You should know that I'm used to telling the truth. Moreover, I'll only say 80% of it. The sapphire blue shadow, Songhai, waved his hand to signal his companions not to doubt. The warriors of Tong Tian Tower in those days were indeed very strong. In the heaven realm, if there were only 10 rankings, it would not be an exaggeration to say that 5 or 6 out of 10 came from Tong Tian Tower. In the ranking of the heaven realm, Tong Tian Tower's warriors could take up 5 or 6 out of 10. This was too terrifying, right? Not to mention the heaven realm. just the heaven realm alone, was many times bigger than a mere Tong Tian Tower. It was really unimaginable. It was estimated that even a random continent in Tong Tian Tower would be bigger than the entire Tong Tian Tower. But the heaven realm had 1,000,000 continents. The heaven realm had 100 domains. Each domain's domain emperor had jurisdiction over nearly 10,000 continents. In such a big heaven realm, including the heaven realm, the number of strong warriors could only be equal to the number of Tong Tian Tower's palm-sized countryside. If the warriors of the heaven realm were too weak, then it was fine. But what about the heaven realm? How could there be mediocre existences in the heaven realm? If it wasn't Songhai, who couldn't lie? If it was someone else, everyone would definitely not believe it. The warriors of Tong Tian Tower. This was way too heaven-defying. Did they still want to let others live? Compared to the current Tong Tian Tower warriors, thinking about it, they were really too pitiful. When the Heaven Realm army invaded, they only had a few low-level soldiers, but they were already showing signs of being unable to hold on. If it wasn't for the abnormal Titan Yu, Tong Tian Tower might as well not resist. That way, they could still save a breath. In the past, the Tong Tian Tower warriors who looked down on the Heaven Realm could not even find a few decent ones to stand up and resist the invasion of the Heaven Realm army. Where did all those strong warriors who could shake the heavens and earth go? They're all dead. Even if they didn't die, they were sealed by the ancient great gods. When the sapphire blue Songhai said this, all of his companions were immediately stunned. It can't be they're all dead. The fiery red shadow volcano could not accept it no matter what. That was a huge number of strong warriors that could take up 5 or 6 out of 10 in the heaven realm. The dark black dark cloud also felt that it was inconceivable. Who actually did it? Who had such great power to be able to kill so many strong warriors? Yes, they're all dead. The one who killed them was none other than themselves. Tong Tian Tower warriors often have internal strife. Yes, this is the biggest characteristic of Tong Tian Tower warriors. They love internal strife. Moreover, it is an internal strife that cannot be mediated by external forces. The warriors of the Soaring Dragon Continent fought the warriors of the Demon Abyss to the death, and the warriors of the Demon Abyss fought the warriors of the Soaring Dragon Continent to the death. No one could understand what kind of hatred there was, and what kind of reason would make them fight to the death like this. Furthermore, this kind of battle doesn't happen once or twice. It happens in a day and night. Some battles even last for thousands of years. Generations after generations, hatred and strength will be passed down, fighting forever without end. It can be said that the downfall of Tong Tian Tower was caused by internal strife. The martial artists of Skysplit Tower were far too fond of infighting. Their powerhouses were all killed or sealed away by their own people. Only a very, very small number of people managed to survive and found their own sect to pass down their own strength. However, when a new generation of disciples fully matured, they would start internal strife and kill each other again. In the end, only a very small number of survivors would continue the glory of their predecessors. If there's a gap in the middle, then the later generations would completely lose the strength and inheritance of their predecessors. They would have to start from a poor and destitute state again, just like Titan Yu now. However, the growth of Tong Tian Tower's warriors is very fast. Although Titan Yu's growth is abnormal and far surpasses normal people, overall, the growth of Tong Tian Tower's warriors, especially the growth of Soaring Dragon Continent's human warriors, has always been astonishingly fast. Titan Yu, this genius boy, is only more outstanding and more outstanding than other geniuses. The sapphire blue Songhai slowly told his companions about the various situations in the past, causing the few shadows to exclaim in surprise and sigh nonstop. How do they divide their clans? Do the humans of Soaring Dragon Continent and the demons of Demon Abyss belong to the same clan? The emerald green shadow asked. No, their clans are very complicated. Even the Soaring Dragon Continent and Demon Abyss are divided into at least 10 clans. On the other hand, the Heaven Stairway warriors are more unified, so they should be classified as one clan. Of course, their numbers are also the least. The sapphire blue Songhai shook his head. How does the heaven upper realm differentiate them? The golden shadow asked. This, in the past, the heaven upper realm was divided according to where they came from. From soaring dragon continent, from heaven stairway, or from demon abyss. Generally speaking, the heaven upper realm would divide the small bottom of Tong Tian Tower into 3 clans of super strong warriors. At first, I also thought that this division was correct. In reality, only after coming here did I realize that there are actually many small clans in every big clan. The composition is very complicated. The battles between the big clans are not any less intense than the other clans. Of course, if there are external enemies, fighting to maintain a big clan is still relatively normal. Just like now when the Heaven Realm army invaded Tong Tian Tower, everyone fought back under Titan Yu's command. Of course, this was mainly because Skysplit Tower no longer had any super powerhouses. If there were dozens or even hundreds of powerhouses like Titan Yu, they simply wouldn't be able to work together and fight shoulder to shoulder. That was impossible. However, don't mention hundreds. Even if there were tens of Titan Yu, no one in Heaven Realm would dare to invade. Even if it was like Tong Tian Tower in the past, if the warriors of Tong Tian Tower did not fight amongst themselves, this place would always be a forbidden area. Heaven Realm warriors would never be able to step foot into this place. How could it be like now, even the small fries of Heaven Realm dare to show off their strength? Let's talk about the differences between the 3 clans. I'm suddenly a little interested in these. The Emerald Green Shadow asked excitedly. Heaven Realm, according to their habits, can be clearly divided. Generally speaking, they do not like to bully the weak. On the contrary, they like to speak up for the weak and fight bravely against strong enemies. Moreover, these kind of warriors come from the Soaring Dragon Continent. They are called the Soaring Dragon Continent clan. Moreover, the number of this hot-blooded clan is also the largest. In other words, the warriors from the Soaring Dragon Continent are the largest group. Those from the Demon Abyss have many differences. First of all, they advocate martial arts and are exceptionally warlike. No matter who they face, they will challenge them. They are also relatively indifferent towards weak life forms. However, they are different from many warriors in Heaven Realm. They ignore the weak, but rarely interfere with the life processes of the lower levels. Compared to the Heaven Realm warriors who carry out massacres, exterminating entire clans, or capturing people as slaves, they are much better. If you want to describe it accurately, the Demon Abyss warriors are a group of crazy people who love to fight as much as their lives. They don't seem to have much passion for war and ruling over the land. The Sapphire Blue Shadow Songhai summarized. What about Heaven's Stairway? The Emerald Green Shadow asked again. Heaven's Stairway seems to be very mysterious. In the Heaven Realm, the legends of the Heaven Stairway warriors seem to be the least. The Golden Shadow also expressed his interest in understanding. It is indeed so. The most surprising thing are the warriors from Tong Tian Tower, who came from the Heaven Stairway. These people are the least in number, and most of them are female, but their strength is not ordinary. These strange races might be inextricably linked to the Eastern Celestial Tribe, but no one can figure out what exactly is going on. The Heaven Stairway warriors are naturally peaceful. They don't like to fight at all, and they cherish their lives very much. Every grass, every tree, every insect, even the lowly servants in their eyes are life. They won't kill them easily. Maybe because of this kind of influence, the warriors from the Heaven Stairway are often misunderstood. They mistakenly think that they are very weak and would often be attacked by people who overestimate themselves. In the past, there were a few god wars that broke out like this. Because the Heaven Stairway's warriors were attacked, the Soaring Dragon Continents and Demon Abyss's warriors were enraged. A chaotic war broke out in the Heaven Realm. If not for some gods falling and some gods being sealed, the God War would not have ended so easily. What you mean is that the God Realm warriors from Tong Tian Tower died because of their infighting. Their treasures are in this god's ruins? The Fiery Shadow, Volcano, finally understood why this big brother Songhai would bring everyone here to explore this place from so far away. That's not wrong. The sapphire blue shadow, Songhai, expressed his agreement. How many treasures are there in there? All the shadow's eyes lit up. Heavens, if we can get 1/10. No. If we can get 1/10,000th, we will immediately. The golden shadow couldn't imagine it anymore. Why is it like this? Why must the warriors from Tong Tian Tower return to this god's ruins after they died? Let's not talk about why they fought amongst themselves. Why did they die? Even if they died, why must they return here? I don't understand. The emerald green shadow couldn't understand. Rankers from Tong Tian Tower have a weak sense of identity with the Heaven Realm. They aren't like us. Once we enter the Heaven Realm, we build our homes, establish our own power and territory, and keep forging ahead. They aren't like that. Even if they have a point, a city, or even a big kingdom, it's impossible for them to have a sense of belonging there. It's impossible for them to have a sense of identity with Tong Tian Tower, their hometown. It's said that when the warriors of Tong Tian Tower are at their peak, they will go to the legendary Heaven Stairway secret realm. There, they will leave behind their or imprint and power inheritance, leaving behind their or their unique cultivation process. And after they die, they will choose to return to the origin, which is this god's ruins. They will seal everything in their life inside, either to provide for the growth of their descendants, or to quietly sleep in the long river of time. In this origin, everything they have returned to the beginning, everything returned to chaos. I also don't understand, but I can be sure that their choice is different from the warriors of Heaven Realm and Heaven Realm. It's really a contradictory race. They like to fight amongst themselves when they were alive, but after death, they like to return to the origin together. This is really incomprehensible. The purple shadow, Lei Ming, shook his head and sighed. With his way of thinking, he would never be able to understand these contradictory behaviors. But then again, these fellows who obviously like to fight amongst themselves also have such a strange and contradictory characteristic. As long as Tong Tian Tower is invaded by Heaven Realm, they will put down their hatred and fight against the enemy together. Maybe this is because they have a sense of belonging to their hometown. Looking at the current Titan Yu, he was born in the soaring dragon continent, but he could join hands with the warriors of Heaven Stairway and Demon Abyss to fight against the East. If he was in Heaven Realm or Heaven Realm, it would be impossible to see this kind of resistance. It's obviously a battle with absolutely no chance of victory, but there are actually so many people who follow Titan Yu without fear of death. This kind of idiot is really rare in Heaven Realm, but it's this kind of idiot that gives me a kind of shock. This is the first time I've been shocked by such a weak life form. The voice of the red shadow, Volcano, gradually turned into admiration. This is indeed different from our Heaven Realm and Heaven Realm. The sapphire blue shadow, Songhai, suddenly shook his head and laughed. I agree with you saying that it's shocking, but I don't agree with you saying that there's absolutely no chance of victory. Victory, this is what I personally think. Titan, you will definitely win. What? All the shadows looked at their boss in shock. Don't be too surprised. Although the battle situation is still unclear, I believe that the final victory still belongs to that Titan Yu. There are too many super rankers secretly guarding Tong Tian Tower. They won't sit and watch Dong Feng and Tian Yu destroy Tong Tian Tower. Among the countless fallen deities, maybe there's still one, maybe there are many more. Who knows? The warriors of Tong Tian Tower that year were as many as the stars in the sky. They were so bright and dazzling. How could they all fall? There will always be a few who survived. Furthermore, regarding the inheritance of Tong Tian Tower, it's impossible to use the power of extinction to stop it. Looking at their history, a large number of Tong Tian Tower warriors fell. Especially 10,000 years ago, there was almost no one left. Was Tong Tian Tower destroyed? No. Tong Tian Tower gave birth to a conqueror queen. The conqueror queen who tried to conquer Heaven Realm was also sealed. Then was Tong Tian Tower destroyed? No. Tong Tian Tower gave birth to another prison emperor. Prison emperor died in battle. Tong Tian Tower was going to be destroyed. Were they destroyed? No. In this place, an even more abnormal Titan Yu was born. In this most critical moment, he grew at an unbelievable speed. That's why Tong Tian Tower will never be truly destroyed. It might sink for a period of time, but when it finishes recuperating, countless geniuses will immediately appear, allowing it to maintain its vitality and extend the glory of its predecessors. The sapphire blue shadowed Songhai looked very far, very far. That doesn't mean that Titan you will definitely win. After all, Dongfan's plan has already reached an irreversible state. The fiery red volcano was still a little doubtful. That's why we must all remain neutral. Before the final victory is confirmed, being neutral is the most sensible move. The emerald green shadow laughed. If you all are willing to remain neutral, then as one of the masters, I am willing to represent Titan you to entertain you all. Even if a few esteemed guests from Heaven Realm want to visit our most secret god's ruins, this little girl will not refuse. Here, Wu Xia is willing to do her best to personally lead you all into Tong Tian Tower to view the unparalleled glory of the past seniors. A beautiful voice, like the sounds of nature, came out of nowhere. In an instant, it floated to the center of the shadows, passing through their willpower defense with incomparable clarity and transmitted into the minds of the shadows in a divine sense state. Without waiting for the few shadows to react, in the field, there's already one more person. She floated like a fairy, descending from the 9 heavens, not startling a speck of dust. She smiled sweetly. Her eyes were bright and intelligent. Chapter 1268. The person who came was Shui Wuxia. The few shadows were astonished by her arrival. However, they were even more astonished by her level of strength. Divine level. Even the most abnormal genius, Yu Titan, hadn't reached the god rank. So how could this little girl have reached the god rank? Could it be that she was an even more abnormal genius than Titan Yu? Although you call yourself Wu Xia, you are actually Princess Yimeng, right? The fiery red shadow, volcano, felt that other than a certain mysterious emperor, there should not be a second divine level ranker in Tong Tian Tower. Why did this emperor, who used the mirage to guard the entrance of God's ruins under Tian Luo Palace, suddenly come out? Didn't she vow to never come out? I don't dare to pretend to be Senior's name. Shui Wuxia smiled. Everywhere her divine light shone. It was as if spring had returned to the earth, and hundreds of flowers bloomed. Are you really not Princess Yimeng? Even a sapphire blue shadow, Songhai, couldn't help but ask. Why can't Tong Tian Tower have a second divine level ranker? In fact, you have misunderstood. Not only does Sky Split Tower have a second divine level warrior, there are also a third, fourth, and even more divine level warriors. The era of oblivion has passed, and the current Sky Split Tower has begun to rise. If we're talking about divine level warriors, let's not count the unknown hidden seniors for now. There are several well-known ones, and this little girl is only rank 5th. Honored guests, you are all experienced and knowledgeable, so there is no need to make a fuss about nothing. Shui Wuxia's words shocked the shadows even more. What? There are at least 5 divine level rankers in Tong Tian Tower? This must be a joke. Other than Princess Yimeng, who slept forever in the mirage, how could there be a second divine level ranker in Tong Tian Tower? Not to mention there are as many as 5 divine level rankers. This is simply exaggerated nonsense. Shui Wuxia didn't explain. The truth was like this, and she didn't need to say anything more. The few shadows waited for a long time, and found that this little girl didn't bother to explain or argue, so they couldn't help but believe her a little. At the very least, this little girl called Wu Xia in front of him was a divine level ranker other than Princess Yimeng. If there were other geniuses as outstanding as her, it was hard to say how many more divine level rankers there were in Tong Tian Tower. If one thought about it carefully, this was also true. If there weren't a few divine level experts in the Tong Tian Tower, why would the Eastern sect be so cautious? Why did he have to make such a meticulous plan? He invited the strong warriors of the upper realm to come to Tong Tian Tower and was willing to share the secrets of God's ruins with outsiders. Supreme Jin, the demon god, the immovable revered martial artist, the various powerhouses, and even the various people that the Eastern sect had secretly invited. If there were no experts in the Tong Tian Tower and there was only Princess Yiming, why would the Eastern sect go through so much trouble? Thinking about the supreme heavenly chariot of the temple, as the number one person in the central shrine, a super strong person who looked down on the upper realm, he also tacitly approved of the East's actions. If one were to say that this Tong Tian Tower did not have a god ranker guarding it, it would not be believable. However, 5 deity-level experts were too many. Were there really as many as 5? The purple shadow, Lei Ming, expressed his doubt. I salute you, divine level ranker of Tong Tian Tower. Although we came unhurriedly, we have no ill intentions. We are only curious about the god's ruins. We promise to stay neutral and not participate in any disputes between you and the central shrine. While expressing our condolences to you, can you solve the confusion in our hearts? As far as I know, Tong Tian Tower has been in decline for many years, and its whereabouts are almost unheard of in the heaven realm. How could there be as many as 5 divine-level experts? There are indeed 3 divine-level experts, but they are not here. Perhaps you will know them in a later battle. Shui Wuxia looked up at the dome of the guidance temple and suddenly smiled. Perhaps it won't be long before we have more divine-level experts. With him, everything is possible. Are you talking about Titan Yu? The green shadow Yuan Yi asked. I believe the answer is already in your hearts. Shui Wuxia did not answer directly, but only responded with a smile. Can you tell me why the so-called number 1 genius of Tong Tian Tower, Titan Yu, did not reach divine level, but you reached it first? The black shadow Dark Cloud asked curiously. He did not reach divine level because he did not want to reach it temporarily. It is not that he could not advance. I think you all know the difference between the two. Shui Wuxia smiled. Why? The fiery red shadow Volcano screamed weirdly. He could advance to divine level, but did not want to advance. What kind of person was this? Could it be that this brat felt that advancing to divine level was a wrong move? Or was he so bored that he was too lazy to even advance to divine level? Yu Taiden was really a fellow that made people puzzled. How did this brat's brain work? He could reach divine level, but did not advance. If it was someone else who said this, it would be strange if he did not get scolded to death. How could he make such an unreasonable move? Furthermore, what did he think advancing to divine level was? Was a game of playing house. It really made people sweat to death. The fiery shadow Volcano thought about how he had spent a total of 10,000 years to advance to divine level with great difficulty. Then, he spent another few thousand years to condense his own godhood. After much difficulty, he finally advanced to divine level. Now that he heard that someone else was unwilling to advance to divine level, it was as if a jar of vinegar had been spilled in his heart. He was not feeling good. This brat really deserved the wrath of the heavens. Cough. The sapphire blue shadowed Songhai lightly coughed. Towards Titan Yu's strange actions, he didn't find it strange at all. Perhaps there weren't such people in the heaven realm, but in Tong Tian Tower, there really were all kinds of strange people. Just like in Tong Tian Tower back then. If it was not because he met 2 experts with strange tempers who were afraid of killing too much and exterminating the younger generation of Heaven Realm, how could he have lived until today? If one were to talk about strange tempers, the tempers of those 2 experts were also strange enough. Who would show mercy because they were worried that the enemy would be exterminated? If he did not experience it himself, he would definitely not believe it. But this was the truth. Previously, you said that you would bring us into the god's ruins. Is that true? The golden shadow suddenly asked. Not only you, even the temple's supreme Tianyu, who had yearned for tens of thousands of years but could not enter, and the biggest traitor of Tong Tian Tower, Dongfang, can also enter. I will inherit the will of the goddess of wisdom and open the entrance to God's ruins for everyone to enter and exit freely. Shui Wuxia's face and tone were sincere as she nodded seriously. The few shadows looked at each other. This answer, it was really far beyond their imagination. What was the reason that made her and the guardian of Tong Tian Tower decide to open the entrance to God's ruins and allow everyone to enter and exit freely? Could it be that there was a conspiracy? Or was it a well-hidden plan to lure the enemy? However, no matter what the reason was, as long as they did this, it was the behavior of a lunatic. In order to guard the entrance to God's ruins, Princess Yi Meng had been sleeping for thousands of years and vowed never to come out again. But now, it was easily opened, allowing everyone to enter and exit freely. This was too unbelievable. Actually, this entrance to the Temple of Guidance is fake, right? The real entrance is really underneath Tian Luo Palace, right? The fiery red shadow volcano couldn't help but ask. That is indeed an entrance, but there is more than one entrance to God's ruins. Actually, there are 3 entrances to God's ruins, one to Soaring Dragon Continent, one to Demon Abyss, and one to Heaven's Stairway. The entrance we are standing at now belonged to Demon Abyss in ancient times, and it is also the only entrance that is open to the public. In other words, it is the safest and simplest entrance. Shui Wuxiao explained softly. The entrance to Heaven's Stairway can only be entered by pure virgins. As for the entrance that belongs to the Soaring Dragon Continent, it is the most stringent and difficult entrance. That entrance requires an extremely tough trial in order to obtain approval. The reason why the senior that you speak of is guarding outside and not letting people enter easily is not because he wants to monopolize everything, but because he is worried that those who enter will lose their lives in vain. His benevolence and virtue is not something that a small fry in the outside world can understand. So that's how it is. After the few shadows heard this, they all had a sudden realization. Regarding Shui Wuxia's words, they believed at least 90% of it. Firstly, this little girl's divine sense was very pure. She didn't have any thoughts of deceiving them. Secondly, in the past half a month of exploration, they had seen many imprints left by the predecessors of Tong Tian Tower. At first, they were confused, but after Shui Wuxia explained their doubts, they immediately understood everything. The Golden Shadow asked with a little anticipation, "What are the conditions for this entrance that originally belonged to Demon Abyss?" Shui Wuxia smiled and said, "There are no conditions. Since ancient times, the condition to enter this entrance was to break through confusion. However, later generations found that this was too difficult for the life of the demonic abyss, but it was not a problem for the life of the Dragon Ascension and the Heaven Stairway. Many warriors of the Dragon Ascension and the Heaven Stairway came here. Later, a goddess with great wisdom created a guiding temple here. Whether it was the warriors of the demonic abyss, Dragon Ascension, or the Heaven Stairway, they could find the correct entrance through the guidance of the temple and enter the inner part of the god's ruins. Do you really want to open the door here and let us all go in?" The red shadow, fiery red, felt a little nervous. What do you need us to do for you?" The black shadow, dark cloud, asked tentatively. "We can't beat Sky Chariot." The purple shadow first blocked this condition. "You don't need to do anything. Please continue to stay neutral." Shui Wuxiao waved her hand, indicating that there were no conditions. "Then what about the secret treasures in God's ruins?" The green shadow, Jinya, quietly talked with the blue shadow, Songhai, and asked the question that everyone wanted to know the most. The artifact chooses its master, and it belongs to the Fated One. We will definitely not object. Shui Wuxia smiled and paused, then smiled again and said, "But my opinion doesn't represent Titan Yu's opinion. Maybe you have already found out from the information that that guy is a very selfish treasure maniac. If you meet him, you better not provoke him. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what he will do. Of course, because of the war, Titan Yu doesn't have the time to care about these things. I am just making a small assumption here." The shadows were a little sweaty. Regarding Titan Yu's character, they had already understood him very clearly through all kinds of information. Previously, they only dared to come and explore the treasure because they saw that this kid hadn't advanced to God level yet. If they knew that there were at least 5 God level experts in Tong Tian Tower, and that they all listened to Titan Yu, they wouldn't have easily provoked this kid. Anyone would be angry. After all, it was their family's treasure. It would be strange if they didn't get angry when others took advantage of it. Of course, if Titan Yu lost a Dong Fong, lost to the deity palace's supreme sky chariot, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. Losers had no rights to speak of. If this kid defied the heavens and won, we're just curious about the secret treasures in God's ruins. As you said, artifacts choose their masters. We may not be fated. The reason why we came from so far away is more to have a look. The sapphire blue, Songhai, expressed his position with a little embarrassment. Of course, this was nonsense. If they didn't have any ideas, no one would come here. To come to a treasure mountain and return empty-handed. What kind of logic was that? Definitely not. But it was fine to say that they wanted to have a look, but they couldn't say that they wanted to take advantage of the situation to rob other people's things, right? Then, please wait a moment. Let me open the gate of wisdom. Shui Wuxia smiled. She didn't care about this at all. The real enemy was not these greedy super experts from the heaven realm, but Dongfang and the supreme sky chariot of the deity palace hidden behind. Open the gate of wisdom that guided the deity palace. Opening the inner core area of God's ruins was the key to winning this victory. Whether it was the guidance of the predecessors, the discussion of friends and relatives, or the enlightenment of the Book of Truth in her hands, opening the gate of God's ruins was the beginning of the reversal. If this task was not completed successfully, this difficult battle might not be able to be reversed. Shui Wuxiao was now standing in front of the goddess of wisdom statue. She connected with the goddess of wisdom statue with her divine sense. Just like another young mother who entered the United States, she used the same method. With the purest body and soul, she inherited the wisdom of the goddess of wisdom. In the sky full of runes, Shui Wuxia, who was bathed in divine light, was inheriting and absorbing the will and guidance of the ancient goddess of wisdom bit by bit. She was not only the most suitable choice, but also came willingly. Here, in addition to the inheritance of the goddess of wisdom, she also felt the marks and experiences left behind by countless predecessors. In an instant, her body and mind were immersed in endless sublimation. In this instant, she understood the true purpose of opening the gate of wisdom. Chapter 1269. When Shui Wuxia was receiving the inheritance of wisdom, the black shadow dark cloud secretly transmitted his voice to his companion, the fiery shadow volcano, and said, "This is the best opportunity." What? The fiery shadow volcano was baffled when he heard that. Capture this little girl. The black shadow dark cloud said with a hint of temptation. It can be seen that her strength is below any one of us. And this is a little girl who has just advanced to the God realm. Most importantly, she is currently receiving the inheritance and has no defensive ability. Once she finishes receiving the inheritance, we will immediately make our move. Are you crazy? The fiery shadow volcano almost cried out. Aren't we supposed to maintain neutrality now? It is indeed neutral. But if this little girl continues to fight with Dongfang and Tianyu, she will most likely die. The black shadow dark cloud quietly persuaded. If we capture her, she will not be able to participate in the battle anymore, and will be able to live until the end. What good does this do for us? The fiery shadow volcano still did not understand. We need this little girl to enter the core area of the god's ruins. The black shadow dark cloud felt that they should keep some trump cards for their side. Otherwise, when Dongfang and Tianyu won, the secret treasures in the god's ruins would have nothing to do with them. As long as they captured this little girl who could receive the inheritance of the ancient goddess of wisdom, then even someone as strong as the Temple Supreme Yu Yu and the Central Shrine's #1 think tank Dongfang would have no choice but to agree to their conditions. Because his capture, he was holding the key to enter the god's ruins in his hands. The black shadow dark cloud felt that this was the best opportunity. This little girl who did not look weak should be a heaven stairway warrior. Her body and mind were very pure, without any scheming, and she did not guard against outsiders. Once she heard that they would maintain neutrality, she actually accepted the inheritance of wisdom in front of everyone. Wasn't this the best opportunity? However, out of his expectations, his companion Volcano refused. Dark Cloud, if you want to capture me, then go and capture me. Forgive me for not participating in this matter." What? This time it was Dark Cloud's turn to be stunned. When did his companion become so kind? Although I have committed all sorts of evil in the heaven realm, and am a downright bad guy. Volcano, who was hidden in the fiery red divine light, suddenly sighed. Even if I'm a bad person, it doesn't mean I'm a fool. Why would I do such a thing? Why didn't they remain neutral? If I take her down, let's not talk about whether or not I can take down the opponent. Even if I can, it will be a huge weakening for Tong Tian Tower. What benefits does it bring to us if Dong Fong and Tian Yu win? On the contrary, if they fail, what harm will it do us? So, I won't do such a thing that harms others without benefiting myself. But if we have her, even if Dong Fong and Tian Yu win, they will have no choice but to lower their heads to us. However, Dark Cloud still felt that it was best to keep such an important humanoid key in their hands. You're taking it for granted. The volcano shook his head and said, "If Dong Fong and Tian Yu weren't confident, they wouldn't have started the war. Didn't you hear just now? There are 3 real entrances, and this is the easiest one to enter. With Dongfang's intelligence and Tian Yu's strength, they might not even need to enter through this entrance to enter the real core of God's ruins. If we take her down, it will be like throwing stones at someone who's down. Other than becoming enemies with Tong Tian Tower, there's no other possibility. Besides, my dear old friend, why would I want to start a war with a divine level ranker? As you and I can see, she's a divine level ranker. No matter how long she's been a divine level ranker, even if it's only a day, she's still a real divine level ranker. Starting a war with a divine level ranker isn't the wisest move for you and me. At least, it doesn't fit my original intention. Do you think we'll lose?" Dark Cloud felt that this idea was too crazy. "Do you think we'll definitely win?" Volcano asked. "No matter what, we have more than an 80% chance of winning, right?" Dark Cloud felt that he had been a divine level ranker for thousands of years. If he couldn't take down a little girl who had only been a divine level ranker for a few months, it would be too shameful. No matter if she's a divine level infant or a divine level ranker, I won't start a war with her. I won't even try, do you understand? I'm already a divine level ranker. In the heaven realm, I have an incomparably vast land. I have my own clan and home. I'm the ruler of hundreds of millions of lives. Everything of theirs, including their thoughts, is under my will. I'm not a battle maniac like the Tong Tian Tower, who lives in the demon abyss. Why would I casually start a war with another divine level ranker? If I win, the benefits I'll reap won't be enough for me to continue climbing higher. On the contrary, if I lose, I'll fall and lose everything I have now. Why don't I cultivate steadily? Even though it's incomparably slow, I'll never have to worry about giving up halfway. I'll never have to worry about falling one day and not being able to recover. Now, what I have is time and a future. Why should I take risks? Taking risks isn't something a divine level ranker should do. This is something that only those lowly mercenaries who shed blood on the edge of their blades would do. Volcano's words shocked Dark Cloud. Was this guy really that Volcano from the heaven realm who was famous for his bad temper and impulsive actions? Then forget it. Just pretend that I didn't say anything. Hearing this, Dark Cloud muttered to himself for a while. He also felt that Volcano's words made sense. He himself was a divine level ranker. He had the best future and the most time. There was no need to risk his life and fight for it. This wasn't something a divine level ranker should do. He came to Tong Tian Tower with the intention of watching a good show. He didn't want to interfere with either side of Tong Tian Tower or the central shrine. No matter if it was Dong Fong, Tian Yu, or Titan Yu, none of them would help. Everything was up to the will of the heavens. However, Dark Cloud still had reservations about some of Volcano's words. For example, he couldn't defeat this little girl who called herself Wu Xia in front of him. How old was she? How long had it been since she became a divine level ranker? Even if she was an outstanding genius, even more exaggerated than Titan Yu, she had only cultivated for 20 years. Compared to him, who had cultivated for thousands of years after becoming a divine level ranker, she was nothing. The warriors of Tong Tian Tower grew very quickly. However, No matter how fast it was, there was still a limit. Especially after becoming a divine level ranker, the rate of improvement was relatively slow. They needed a long time to improve, even a little bit. This little girl, Wu Xia, who hadn't gone through a long period of cultivation and didn't even have the time to condense her own godhood. How strong could she be? Just when Dark Cloud was amused, the inheritance of wisdom that Shui Wuxiao received had just ended. Just when all the runes disappeared and the divine power of wisdom completely entered Shui Wuxiao's body, a special shadow that was hidden so deeply that even Dark Cloud didn't notice jumped out from the void. It was a special shadow that was 1,000 or 10,000 times faster than lightning. It appeared behind Shui Wuxia in a flash. Some kind of strange divine power, like a dagger, pierced towards the back of Shui Wuxia's head, which was completely unguarded. When one's mind was completely relaxed and defenseless, even a random interruption during the inheritance could cause irreversible consequences, let alone a sneak attack from the divine power. Once this kind of powerful divine power attack appeared, the expressions of all the shadows on the scene changed. Volcano, who had been talking to Dark Cloud just now, even shouted angrily, "Dark Cloud, you've gone too far." Volcano even mistakenly thought that his comrade, Dark Cloud, had attacked. When he saw that it was such a fatal sneak attack, he immediately became furious. This was a despicable sneak attack that would bring shame to all the god-level experts. Only Dark Cloud himself knew. Only then did he realize that this shameless sneak attack wasn't him, but a special shadow that was somewhat similar to him, but had hidden so deeply that even he couldn't see through it. This special shadow didn't belong to any of them. He was just an assassin that followed behind them. Perhaps she sensed something. Shui Wuxia turned around the moment she was attacked. It was over. If she used all her strength to dodge, she might still be able to escape. If she didn't escape now, wouldn't that give the assassin the best opportunity to take advantage of? This little girl was going to die. Even if she was a god-level expert, under such a sneak attack, the possibility of her dying was very high. Even if the few god-level experts on their side try to save her, they might not be able to save her. This was what Dark Cloud thought. Volcano and the other shadows had the same thought as him. The sneak attack was too fast. It was so fast that they didn't have time to think or save her. The assassin had also chosen the perfect timing. He waited for the other party to finish receiving the inheritance, and when the divine power and divine consciousness of the main body were about to be activated, and the divine power of the inheritance was about to disappear, he shamelessly launched a sneak attack. This way, the damage caused would definitely be the most serious. Her death was already a foregone conclusion. There was no power that could save her, not even divine power. Just when the shadows were looking at each other in shock. Just when the assassin who had hidden himself had succeeded. Suddenly, a giant golden hand stretched out from the void above Shui Wuxia's head. This giant golden hand was so huge that when it grabbed the god-level assassin, Dark Cloud, Volcano, and the others were shocked to realize that the god-level assassin was as small as a flea. The giant golden hand squeezed gently. Dark Cloud and the others heard the muffled sound of countless bones being crushed, and they couldn't help but feel terrified. The god-level assassin's body disappeared and turned into thick smoke that flowed out of the giant golden hand. Under the control of some kind of divine power, the thick smoke was as fast as lightning. It shot towards the exit of the Temple of Guidance like an arrow. However, at the exit, there was a woman who looked extremely similar to Shui Wuxia, but was 10 times taller, standing there quietly. Her purplish gold head ornament was formed by lightning. Her elegant long skirt was formed by the god-level condensed divine power. Frost appeared behind her like a wheel of light, constantly emitting the god-level divine power that represented its master's will and the rules. Other than the snow jade bare feet, which had yet to condense the god-level shoes, this female incarnation that still retained her moon-like ankle was, of course, the unique supreme godhead that belonged to Shui Wuxia. She was the combination of Shui Wuxia's guardian beast, Blizzard Lady, the truth book, the god-level true body, and the divine consciousness of wisdom. In other words, she was Shui Wuxia's god level as well as her guardian beast. She was even the embodiment of her wisdom. There was no need for the master's will, because Shui Wuxia's will was completely one with her. She, who had been promoted to the goddess of storms, reached out her hand, ignoring the rules of space and time. With the unique god-level divine power, she caught the god-level assassin, who had turned into smoke and fled, like catching a flea in her palm for the second time. Boom! The goddess of storms smashed the thick smoke in her hand on the ground. The thick smoke disappeared under the god-level divine power, leaving only the god-level assassin, who was howling in pain, suffering the attack of this supreme godhead power. In less than a second, the god-level assassin, who felt that even space and time could be frozen by the eternal god-level divine power, was completely frozen. Even his screams were frozen. Don't think that I can't find you just because you are black. Shui Wuxia sighed. This was her final evaluation of the god-level assassin who died before he could even announce his name. Dark Cloud and Volcano's jaws dropped to the ground. This was an incredible battle scene in front of them. It caused them to be shocked to the extreme. This is impossible. If it was Titan Yu's catchphrase from Tong Tian Tower, it would be, "This is not scientific." A god-level assassin who could hide from a few god-level assassins was easily defeated by a little girl who had just become a god-level assassin, like a flea? Was this an illusion or an illusion? Shui Wuxia still maintained a calm face and smiled, as if she didn't care about sneak attacks, assassins, and the like. She just invited Dark Cloud and Volcano in a friendly manner. Please don't worry about these things. Therefore, when the war broke out, the traitor in the East always thought that he was smart enough to get some assassins, thinking that he could win by doing this. Let's not pay attention to this kind of self-deceiving, boring behavior. Everyone can't ruin the interest of visiting the god's ruins because of a small fly. Next, I want to introduce you to the time corridor of the seniors of Tong Tian Tower. Dark Cloud, who was sweating profusely, suddenly had the urge to rush back to the heaven realm and never look back. This Tong Tian Tower was really too scary. Chapter 1270. The Time Corridor. Even the person who opened it, Shui Wuxia, didn't expect it to look like this. Volcano, Dark Cloud, Lei Ming, and the other guests from the Heaven Realm all thought that it was a corridor similar to the ancient passage, and that it recorded the achievements and honors of the seniors of Tong Tian Tower, who knew that, after entering, it was completely different from what they had imagined. It was an existence like void. There was no ground, no sky, no walls or anything like that. There was no boundary. No one knew how long this time corridor was. No one knew how long it had existed. Perhaps time was meaningless to it. It was an eternal existence. The entire space of the time corridor was filled with an ancient law. It didn't want to restrict the free will of the people who entered, nor did it want to restrict the strength of the people who entered. On the contrary, it had a stimulating effect. Once they entered, everyone, including the few guests from the heaven realm who had been hiding their bodies and strength, would involuntarily reveal their bodies and strength. Their appearance, image, hidden body, and even their innate abilities were all automatically revealed to everyone. The sapphire blue, Songhai, was a divine elephant, even though he immediately changed back to his human form. But the moment he entered, everyone could clearly see that this boss who had stepped foot into Tong Tian Tower 10,000 years ago was a divine elephant. Not only that, Songhai was the strongest among them. A golden pillar of light that was more than 60 meters tall shot out from the top of his head and into the sky, directly indicating the level of his strength and his realm. Volcano and Dark Cloud both thought that their strength was close to this boss Songhai. Unfortunately, the truth was that they hadn't even reached Songhai's strength. Songhai's strength was hidden very deeply. If they didn't enter the time corridor, they wouldn't know his true strength and realm. As for why Songhai wanted to hide his strength and was even unwilling to reveal it in front of his companions, perhaps he had his own special reasons. Volcano and Dark Cloud did not have the time to care about this right now. What they really wanted to see was the strength and realm of the little girl Wu Xia, who killed the godly state assassin with a single strike. The golden pillar of light that represented realm was only 30 meters tall. It was slightly inferior to Volcano's 32 meters and Dark Cloud's 33 meters. This display took everyone by surprise, followed by astonishment, shock, and disbelief. Wu Xia was able to instantly kill a godly assassin who followed behind everyone without being discovered. Of course, she was not on the same level as Volcano and Dark Cloud. However, the height of the golden light pillar was not as high as them. What was going on? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have been deceived by her in front of everyone when she killed that godly state assassin in one move. Since that wasn't the truth, didn't that mean that she still had the ability to hide her true strength and rank under the laws of the time corridor? This was what truly shocked and inconceivable everyone. This was the time corridor created by the ancient laws. So how could she be an exception? Could it be that this little girl, Wu Xia, had already reached the legendary level of the divine sovereign and possessed a unique and eternal will? In this time corridor, each step represents 100 years. Shui Wuxia's small face was beautiful. She smiled slightly. She didn't confirm or deny other people's suspicions. She gave people a mysterious feeling. One step equals 100 years. Volcano realized that no one had taken a step after entering for so long. It wasn't that they didn't want to. It was that they couldn't. In this place where there was no heaven and earth, no space, and no time. Even these godly level experts couldn't move at will. No one could walk in any direction, even if it was just a step. Shui Wuxia smiled again and pointed to a direction in front of them. Maybe everyone has realized that there is a star in front of us. That is the end of the 100 years that we're going to take. That place should be displaying the experts of Tong Tian Tower in the past 100 years. Of course, only godly level experts are qualified to be displayed here. With the guidance of Shui Wuxia's divine will, everyone finally succeeded in taking a step forward. This step, it represented 100 years of time. Everyone was in a trance. They suddenly felt the scene in front of them change, and their bodies involuntarily arrived at a brand new void. Now, Volcano and the others were completely enlightened. No wonder they needed the guidance of the ancient goddess of wisdom to guide them. No wonder they needed the guidance of an inheritor. Without this little girl, Wuxia, even if they opened the core of God's ruins, even if they entered this time corridor, what was the use? Who could find the way forward in the endless void? Who could search for secret treasures in this time corridor, where a step was equivalent to 100 years of time? Compared to the majesty of the ancient laws, everyone's previous treasure hunting plan was too absurd and ridiculous. In this God's ruins, even if they opened the door and let people in, they wouldn't be able to obtain any benefits. Therefore, this little girl Wuxia was not worried at all. Even if she opened the door of wisdom, she wouldn't be afraid of Dongfang and Tianyu spying. The starlight that he had seen before had now turned into a dazzling and splendid nebula. One after another, unattainable golden stars that were difficult to look up to, flashing in front, waiting for everyone's divine will to probe. That bright and shining nebula suddenly extended and expanded by 1 trillion times. In an instant, it covered the entire space and shrouded everyone. Closest to Volcano and Dark Cloud, there were 2 special golden stars. They were very small. At first glance, it was not surprising that they seemed to be submerged in the countless stars. However, no one could ignore their existence, because right now, they were growing at a shocking speed. They had great potential. Everyone was speechless. Out of curiosity, Volcano and the others carefully probed with their divine will. They were surprised to find that in the middle of the 2 golden stars that were wrapped in divine light, there were actually 2 extremely young girls. One of them was surrounded by countless beasts, such as Pegasus, butterfly, spirit mirror image, and so on. She was slightly bigger, but definitely not bigger than this Wuxia in front of them. She looked like this Wuxia's younger sister. The other was even smaller, about the age of a 14 or 15-year-old human girl. Her body had not yet grown. Her small face was full of childishness. No one could imagine it. Unexpectedly, this was also a divine-level expert. Furthermore, she was a divine-level expert that was growing at a rapid speed. Behind her stood two Titan treants guarding her. According to the information, she was 99% likely Titan Yu's younger sister, Yu Bing. However, Volcano and the others would never imagine that this little girl, who was previously ignored by Heaven Realm warriors, was actually a divine-level expert. Furthermore, she was growing at a rapid speed. Above this Yu Bing's head, there was a golden light pillar that represented her divine level. It was less than 10 meters tall, but it was currently growing at an insane speed. Almost every 10 seconds, it would increase by 1 millimeter. Volcano and Dark Cloud had tears streaming down their faces. They wanted to cry to death. One must know that every time the golden light pillar above their heads increased by 1 millimeter, it was not 10 seconds, but 10 years, or even 100 years. How could it increase every second? Furthermore, there was a shadow of a light pillar above this Yu Bing's head. It probably represented her potential. It was at least 300 meters tall. It was so tall that it made people want to vomit blood. It was so tall that people wanted to smash their heads against the wall and die. Looking at the top of his head, Volcano realized that the shadow above his head was less than 5 meters. Dark Cloud was even worse. He was only 3 meters tall. The best was Wanya. The golden shadow above her head was more than 40 meters tall. Although she was only at the level of a golden light pillar that was about 25 meters tall, in the future, she would undoubtedly surpass everyone and become the leader of the group. She would even be taller than Songhai, who was 60 meters tall. The second person with great potential was the youngest in the group, Light. He was the target of everyone's bullying, but he also had a potential shadow that was more than 20 meters tall. His current level was much lower than Volcano and Dark Cloud's. His golden light pillar was only 20 meters tall. He was the weakest among his companions. But in the end, if there were no accidents, he would have no problem surpassing Volcano and Dark Cloud. In addition, Lehman, Silver Screen, Grassy, and a few other companions all had different degrees of potential. Every one of them was better than Volcano and Dark Cloud. This kind of result made their hearts sour, as if a jar of vinegar had been spilled, especially Dark Cloud, who was ranked in the top 3 in terms of strength. He felt the most pain. According to the final potential, he would be surpassed by everyone and become the last. Even if you have potential, you might not be able to cultivate it in the end. Boss Songhai, whose potential had already been excavated to the peak and could no longer improve, comforted him. I can still take this kind of blow. Dark Cloud didn't show it on the surface, but his smile was uglier than crying. Luckily, I'm not the last. Volcano secretly wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. In front of this kind of law that had no secrets to speak of, the psychological pressure was too great. It was okay if one's strength was not enough and his level was not high. But this kind of shadow that could see the potential for cultivation in the future was the real pair. Volcano and the others looked at the other girl who they didn't know her name, but seemed to look like Wu Xia's younger sister. They wanted to see her potential. They looked. They wanted to vomit blood again. This was because this little girl who was surrounded by beautiful beasts, fairies, Pegasus, illusionary butterflies, and spirit mirrors seemed to have a potential that was slightly lower than Utatan's younger sister, Yu Bing. But she was also a terrifying existence with a potential height of more than 300 meters. This was also a height that made people feel despair. Volcano and the other guests from Heaven Realm, who were greatly shocked, couldn't accept this fact. Could it be that Tong Tian Tower's specialty was abnormal geniuses? One Utaidan was already enough to make people feel inferior. Now that there were a few little girls, it made people want to kill themselves. How could the warriors from Heaven Realm survive? No wonder Dong Fong and Tian Yu wanted to destroy Tong Tian Tower like madmen. Now everyone finally understood that it wasn't because Dong Fong and Tian Yu's minds were twisted, but because of fear. No matter if it was Dong Fong or Tian Yu, they were all afraid that they would be surpassed by Tong Tian Tower's warriors. Because the growth speed of Tong Tian Tower's warriors was too crazy, too abnormal, and too unreasonable. Let's look at the other divine level rankers in Tong Tian Tower. Dark Cloud squeezed out a dry smile on his face. Even he himself felt that it was very strenuous for him to smile. It was very awkward. I hope a normal divine level ranker will appear. Almost everyone prayed in their hearts. The psychological pressure of always facing exceptional geniuses was too great. Luckily, there were so many people here. If there was only one, it would be strange if they didn't go crazy from fright. Almost as if they had a tacit understanding. Everyone chose not to look at the golden stars that represented Yu Titan and Wu Xia in case someone fainted from the shock. Why does it seem like there are 9 golden stars? That's not right. Didn't Tong Tian Tower only have 5 divine level rankers in the past 100 years? Yuan Yi and the others counted carefully and found the problem. There were actually 9 golden stars here, and there were many stars in the periphery that showed signs of evolving into divine level gold stars. There are so many. Shui Wuxiao was also surprised. This had exceeded her original estimation. What was going on? Chapter 1271. The 10th level of the Heaven Stairway. This was a broken space without any signs of life. Because there had been several devastating battles here, even with the law of heaven and earth, the space automatically healed, but after thousands of years, the 10th level of the Heaven Stairway was still a broken space. No life could naturally grow here. The sky was not a blue sky, but a terrifying sky with many big and small black holes. All the time, these cracks between heaven and earth devoured any energy it needed around it. Not to mention the life of flesh and blood. Even if it was rock, grass, wind, fire, water, or earth once swept into it, it would all be turned into powder. The ground was not a fertile land with rolling hills and flowing rivers. Countless islands divided by space-time fragments appeared in front of them, vast and boundless. On each island divided by the space cracks, there was only wasteland and wasteland. On a huge island, quietly, there stood a group of golden armor guards with imposing auras and matchless might. There were only a few hundred of them, but their strength and momentum were strong enough to devour everything in the world. It was believed that no one could stop them. Such a powerful Jinjiawi, but what they guarded was a small and inconspicuous tent. It seemed that this small, even a little shabby, tent was a special existence that was 100 times more valuable than their lives. Following behind this group of golden armor guards was a group of wise elders in golden robes. All of them had white hair and beards, and they held silver staffs and pearls in their hands. They sat leisurely around the small tent, as if they were following the leader of the tent. The wise elders were different from the solemn and focused golden armor guards. It was easy for outsiders to see that although the two sides were in the same group, they were clearly separated and belonged to two completely different classes. In these two classes, no matter how integrated on the surface, in fact, they were contradictory groups that could never be reconciled and converged. When the Night Empress floated in front of them, at first glance, she saw the competition between the two classes and the true intention of the master in the shabby tent. The hidden master did not care about unity and cooperation at all. What he wanted was competition and struggle. The more irreconcilable and intense the struggle between the two classes, the better it was for his rule. Who are you? Night Empress, who was hidden in the starlight, frowned without anyone noticing. I'm a first captain on duty in the Central Divine Palace. I'm known as the mighty god of Longmen. The 3 Supreme Masters are still behind me. If you don't have the ability to pass me, then you're naturally not qualified to meet the 3 Supreme Masters. I've been looking forward to becoming a martial artist of Sky Split Tower for a long time. It's just like 6,000 years ago. Just thinking about it makes one's blood boil. Come, my blade is already hungry and thirsty. In that shabby little tent, there was a majestic voice that rumbled like thunder. Ah, are you the dog that guards the central shrine? I forgot to bring a piece of meat bone for you. The Night Empress mocked without any trace of politeness. It doesn't matter. I will gnaw on your bones to my heart's content. The majestic voice in the tent immediately retorted. Old dog whose teeth have all fallen out. Are you still asleep? The Night Empress usually did not speak so viciously, but in order to attract the enemy's hatred and the attention of the Heaven Realm rankers like Dongfang and Jizun, she tried her best to imitate Yu Yang's usual tone and attack the enemy in front of her. No matter how difficult it was, she hoped that she could buy 3 days for Yu Yang and Jizun, and the longer the better. In front of her, there was a captain of the door god of the central shrine, which was exactly what she wanted. She was not worried about her battle with Jizun. She only cared about the time. Not too short. 3 days was not a long time, but Knight Queen Ju might have an accident under the joint attack of unfalling, undefeatable, and immovable. This was because the battle this time had far exceeded the original target of fighting immovable sovereign, a divine level expert. Now, there was a captain of the door god who came out of nowhere and insisted on interfering in the god's war, which was exactly what Night Empress wanted. The martial artists of the Tongtian Tower are still so boring and still like to talk glibly. In addition to this specialty, have the martial artists of the Tongtian Tower not made any progress in the past 6,000 years? The captain who claimed to be the giant god Nagato seemed to look down on the Night Empress who had just been promoted to the divine ranker. I will tell you before you die. The Night Empress moved her mind. Countless stars were shining brightly. One by one, they transformed into a meteor shower in the galaxy and blasted towards the group of golden armor guards and the Elder of Wisdom who were standing still in front of them. The center of the attack was, of course, the old and tattered tent, as well as the first guard of the central divine temple, Captain Nagato, Giant God. The meteors that could easily kill the 2 overlord rankers of the Heavenly Dragon Clan, Shanglong and Kong Long, shot out like raindrops. With the Night Empress' current divine power, she could completely annihilate the group of golden armored guards in front of her into cosmic dust. She didn't understand why it was necessary to let these golden armored guards, who looked glamorous but were all on the heaven stage, and none of them were close to the divine ranker. Even the strength of the quasi-god was far inferior. In the broken sky, a giant hand suddenly appeared, golden. It was as cold as the sun. As soon as it appeared, it shone brightly and dyed the world. The tyrannical divine power suppressed the whole place, directly nailing the golden armored guards who were standing upright and gritting their teeth into the hard ground. The Night Empress noticed one thing very carefully. Compared to these golden armored guards, the golden-robed old men who looked like the Elder Wisdom were even more embarrassed. They were not avoiding the bombardment of the meteor shower, but because of the pressure of the giant golden hand. They were no longer as relaxed as before. Each of them looked nervous as they held their staffs to protect their bodies, resisting the shock wave of the collision of the 2 divine powers. Compared to those golden armored guards, the golden-robed old men, who were only a few dozen in number, had more combat power. Their individual strength was obviously 1 or 2 levels higher. The giant golden hand that could cover half of the sky spread out its palm and arrogantly took on the meteors that the Night Empress had blasted down. Not only that, he even domineeringly crushed those shooting stars. Instead of throwing them into the cracks of heaven and earth, or those black holes that devoured everything, the giant golden hand was ruthlessly crushing those meteors. They were completely crushed by it and turned into powder. Then they slid down from the golden fingers and palm. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the golden armor guards who were half nailed to the ground could not help but show a kind of fanaticism. Their spirits were greatly boosted, and their aura became even more oppressive. They had a strict rule. When their master did not speak, they did not even dare to move. Even if the divine power attacked, they did not dare to blink. For their master's victory, they could only shout silently and use the explosion of their spirit to represent their verbal venting. But the golden-robed old men did not. Their expressions were also shocked, but there was still reason in the depths of their eyes. It was obvious that they did not submit to the arrogant divine door captain, or rather, they did not belong to him. It was just that they had no choice but to come together for this operation and listen to his orders. The Night Empress, who was hidden in the Milky Way, carefully observed these. For the setback of the meteor shower's tentative attack, she not only saw the performance, but also the deeper meaning. It was certain that this captain was indeed a divine-level strongman, and an extraordinary divine-level strongman. This captain, who claimed to be the giant god of Nagato, indeed had the strength to be arrogant. But an arrogant divine-level strongman like him, how could he lower himself to be a gatekeeper of the central shrine? Could it be that the immovable sovereign, or the divine temple supreme Tianyu, was so strong that they could arrange a divine-level strongman to guard the door for themselves? The immovable sovereign sent this guy to probe. Could it be that he had seen through my plan to delay? Or the immovable sovereign and the divine temple supreme Tianyu had a battle in the dark. Before the final moment of the god's ruins, the immovable sovereign was unwilling to waste his divine power, lest he failed to compete with Tianyu. No matter what the truth was, the captain in front of him, the giant god of Nagato, he was indeed a strong enemy. Sure enough, he is a watchdog that barks very loudly. The Night Empress continued to mock maliciously. The battle between the immovable sovereign and the divine temple supreme was not a bad thing for her. The longer the time dragged on, the more beneficial it would be for the cultivation of Yu Yang and Jizun. Anyway, fighting against the immovable sovereign and the watchdog captain was also a fight. Anyway, there were two more divine-level strongmen, invincible and undefeated. It didn't matter if there was another giant god of Nagato. At present, the best direction was to fight with this arrogant giant god of Nagato for a long time. It was best to fight for a few days and nights so that Yu Yang and Jizun had more time. 10,000 years ago, I killed an idiot like you who couldn't wait to die as soon as you were promoted to divine level. 6,000 years ago, there was also an idiot who advised me to give up fighting, saying that bloodthirstiness would only blind the mind of the strong and affect cultivation. Haha, do you know what I did? The deity will twist his head off, step on it, and pee on it. An idiot like that isn't even qualified to be this deity's urinal. Do you think I am really the watchdog of the central shrine? What a joke. I am the direct descendant of one of the creators of the central shrine. I have a noble bloodline. How can I be worse than Tianyu and immovable? The reason why I am willing to take over the first guard is that I like to control all the circulation in the palm of my hand. How can you fools of the Tong Tian Tower understand this kind of mind? My biggest regret is that 10,000 years ago, the Conquest Queen was sealed before she could reach the door of the central shrine. Otherwise, I will let her understand the fact that what it means to hit a wall and what it means to fail. The captain, who claimed to be the giant god of Nagato, had a majestic voice that rumbled and shook the world. His last words are so long. The Night Empress yawned impatiently. Arrogant, the Tong Tian Tower martial artists are always like this, dying with only one mouth. Do you see this small tent? 10,000 years ago, this was the first Skysplit Tower martial artist that Skysplit Tower had killed. That idiot had brought this tent to the battlefield, and inside it were his beautiful wives and concubines. He thought that fighting was a child's game that could be won easily. He could even exaggerate his honor in front of his wife and concubine. What a big fool. I killed him with one slash, and all his wives and concubine inside were beheaded by me, and their heads were made into wine cups. I deliberately kept this small tent that symbolized the shame of the Tong Tian Tower martial artists. Haha, I have kept it. Every generation of Tong Tian Tower martial artists can witness its shame, and they can also appreciate my glory. Offer me your head. My little tent still lacks a beautiful ornament. I will never talk to a madman again. The Night Empress felt that talking to this kind of person would simply lower her IQ. If it weren't for delaying time, she would have flooded the boring small tent with 1,000 or 10,000 meteor showers. Although she wanted to delay time, the Night Empress decided now. She would never talk to this door god again. This kind of person. He was simply a madman, an unreasonable madman, and a psychopathic madman. Chapter 1272. Night Empress released her thoughts. The originally bright and dazzling Milky Way immediately sped up. Among them, Close to 100 golden stars gradually condensed and transformed into one of the 12 zodiac signs that Night Empress was best at, Aries constellation. With the birth of Aries constellation, the entire star field started to form a brand new power of law. Following that, another constellation of the 12 zodiac signs condensed and appeared to support the operation of this power of law. Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and other constellations gradually appeared in the Milky Way. Every time a star was born in the Milky Way, Night Empress divine power would increase by a bit. Every time a constellation was born in the star field, the power of law within the star field would increase by a bit. No matter how perverted and twisted the door god captain was, there was one thing that could not be denied. This fellow was indeed a strong opponent, a divine level ranker. No one could doubt it. To defeat such a strong fellow, Night Empress had to go all out. Stars? One interesting little thing. However, to someone like you who has just advanced to the divine level and is still a rookie, I want to say that you are still far from it. In a shabby little tent, an unparalleled divine power suddenly exploded like a volcano. It covered the sky and the earth, almost covering the entire 10th floor of the heaven stairway. Night Empress' starry sky domain paled in comparison to this vast divine power. After the divine power exploded to the limit, in the central area, on top of the shabby little tent, a golden giant that was 1,000 times brighter than the sun appeared. The golden giant was obviously the captain's divine power incarnation. It was 300 meters tall and stood in front of the star field that surrounded Night Empress. It had a terrifying aura that could devour the heaven and earth. The Night Empress threw a red giant star at the golden giant. Her real body did not even bother to leave the shabby little tent. The number one guard of the central shrine, the door god captain, directly used his thoughts to control the golden giant that represented his unique divine power to suppress the entire place. With one hand, he grabbed the red giant star that contained infinite explosive power. With an arrogant and domineering aura that could shatter mountains and rivers, the golden giant that represented the captain directly hugged the red giant star in his arms and forcefully squeezed it before it could explode. The power of the explosion directly shattered the space and caused the world to lose its color. However, the golden giant stood still like a pillar that supported the sky, standing in the destructive space storm. It was completely unharmed. The Night Empress shivered. She knew the power of her red giant star. She now had a better understanding of this captain who could not wait to forcefully explode without suffering any damage. Although his temperament was crazy, his strength was also quite terrifying. Could it be that this guy had attained the crazy godhead or a freakish godhead? You dare to take out a grain of rice to show your incompetence. The captain laughed crazily. Not only was his divine power incarnation unharmed, even the fragile little tent and the group of golden armored guards below it were safe and sound. What did this mean? This meant that the first guard of the central shrine, the gate god captain, had more than enough divine power to split into several parts, and he could attack and defend at the same time. The captain, who had transformed into a golden giant, waved his hand. The golden armored guards and the golden-robed old man were all swept to the side. Then he casually dug up a rock that was even larger than a mountain from the ground and lifted it with both hands. Then he took a step forward and smashed the rock that was 600 meters in size towards the star domain where the Night Empress was located. Because of the extremely terrifying divine power friction, the rock immediately turned into a blazing volcano. It carried an aura that could shatter everything. It crashed into the starry sky domain where the Night Empress' main body was. The Night Empress did not say a word. She did not retreat or dodge. Facing the bombardment of the mountain, she only drew a circle with her jade-like hand. After the blazing volcano crashed into the star domain, it suddenly melted like a snowball falling into soup. Other than a slight and imperceptible vibration of the starry sky, the bombardment of the huge volcano didn't even produce the kind of ripples that a stone smashing into water. It melted into nothingness. Perhaps the vibration of the starry sky only lasted for 1,000th of a second, but it was captured by the captain, who had transformed into the golden giant. An energy ball that was 1,000 times brighter than the sun was produced between the hands of the golden giant. Immediately after the burning volcano, it crashed into the star domain. Die. You can't even catch a rock, and you still want to challenge that old ghost. Don't make me laugh my head off. The captain believed that after using the huge rock to smash open the enemy's defense, the divine power that followed would be enough to shatter the enemy's divine body and annihilate his soul. At the very least, it would be enough to severely injure the enemy. Rumble, 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 rumble. In the middle of the battlefield, a blood-red mushroom cloud rose up. Immediately after, there was a shockwave that was shattered by the divine power that swept through the entire battlefield. In an instant, the entire battlefield was shattered. Other than the back of the golden giant that the captain had transformed into, everything in front of his toes, including everything in the world, exploded into pieces. In the end, even a mushroom cloud that rose up was swallowed up by the space-time crack. Not a single drop leaked out. In front of him, there was only shattered space. Nothingness. It was as if the Night Empress and the star domain that protected her had never existed. In the shabby little tent, the captain of the door god snorted disdainfully. I have already said that the warriors of Tong Tian Tower are all bragging kings. What divine level ranker? What conqueror queen? They are all trash. You have never met a real expert. You just casually knock down a few small characters, and you are so proud of yourself. You don't know what it means to be ashamed. If you met me in the past, the Conquest Queen's head would have already become my wine vessel. What invincible heaven realm. What a joke. Woof woof. Out of nowhere, there were 2 dog barks. This beast seemed to have some objections to the words of the door god captain. After being provoked, the infinite anger of the giant god Nagato immediately erupted. Where did this dog come from? How dare it provoke my noble god rank? From the void, there was a despicable dog that looked like it deserved a beating. It stuck out its long tongue and shamelessly dripped with saliva as it staggered out. If its owner was here, it would be strange if it didn't send it flying into the sky with a kick. Unfortunately, it was unknown whose watchdog it was. It had actually come to this battlefield of the gods and even ignored the wrath of the first guard of the central divine temple, the giant god. Was it because this dog was too stupid, or was it because it had no upbringing? A bronze-ranked level 3 dog, this kind of ant-like creature, if it was a normal day, the door god captain would not even look at it. But now, he used all the patience he had in his life to carefully observe the dog for a second. Even if it looked like a dog that deserved a beating and made people want to slap it, it could still travel through the void freely. What drove the captain crazy was that perhaps it had sensed other people's gazes, but this dog actually shamelessly became arrogant. Not only did it not have the slightest self-awareness of a watchdog, but it also acted as if it was watching its performance and let out a loud fart in the direction of the small tent where the captain was at. After that, the dog's face showed an expression that said, "You should be satisfied now, right?" The captain swore that he wanted to eat dog meat for his next meal. He must eat it. If he let this dog live for another second, it would be the shame of his entire life. He had seen arrogant dogs, but he had never seen such an arrogant dog in his life. Moreover, it was a dog that had no self-awareness. "Why did you come here?" The Night Empress voice came from the space-time crack. Following that, a dot of starlight flew out and instantly spread, turning into millions of stars. Meow. Seeing this, the dog raised its front paw and hurriedly made a soldier reporting for duty military salute. "I originally thought that I would have to fight a fierce battle. I didn't think that you would come. Forget it. I'll let you have it. Anyway, there are so many enemies." In the Night Empress starry sky domain, constellations disappeared one after another. Stars extinguished one after another, leaving only the mysterious Milky Way wrapped in a nebula. Ignoring the captain's anger, the beautiful figure in the Milky Way stepped on the void and floated away. Oh, that dog was overjoyed. That wretched face showed "I wanted to eat a good meal for a long time" expression that was asking for a beating. It was extremely vivid, respectfully sending off the Night Empress. The lowly dog, who had always been respectful, immediately changed his attitude, faster than flipping a page. The captain's displeasure had already reached its limit. Did you think this was a game? That you can come and go as you please? And what's the meaning of leaving a dog to fight with me? Even if you look down on others, you shouldn't do this. Die. It must die. And I definitely can't let this dog live for another second. The captain, who had transformed into a giant golden hand, pointed its finger, and nearly 100 beams of divine power shot down. They were denser than raindrops. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to eat dog meat and held back a little, he simply wanted to destroy the continent in front of him. Not to mention that damn dog that looked like it wanted to beat people up. Yawn. In the face of the divine power light beams that were as dense as raindrops, the despicable dog opened its mouth wide and yawned sleepily. It looked as if it was going to sleep after eating, and eat after sleeping, and eat after sleeping. Fortunately, this was not the sea. Otherwise, this dog would probably take out a recliner, put on a pair of sunglasses, and have a healthy sun bath. I can even kill a divine-level being, let alone a despicable dog like you. The captain was seething with anger. He had wanted to save some energy to eat dog meat. Unexpectedly, he had been openly despised by the dog opposite him. Was there any justice in this world? Could he still live after being despised by a dog? The golden giant's fist was 100 times faster than lightning. It smashed down with destructive force, and its target was the lazy, yawning dog. Rumble. The power of this punch even shattered the void. The original space-time fissure was even more shattered, almost turning into powder. That despicable dog took the punch head-on. It was unknown if it was annihilated or if it was sent to some alternate dimension. The captain estimated that even if this dog did not die, it would not be able to return to its dog form. It would definitely be crippled, and it would never be able to return to this stairway world. After throwing the punch, the captain actually felt a little regretful. He felt that he should have caught that dog first. He should not have killed it in one hit. He should have caught that dog and tortured it. After he had vented all his frustration and anger, he should have swallowed it in one gulp. Finally, that dog would exist in the state of feces on this stairway world forever. Only then would he be able to vent his hatred. Only then would he be able to vent the humiliation of being provoked, offended, insulted, and blasphemed by a lowly dog as a god-level expert. Snort. Out of nowhere, there was a sound that sounded like that of a dog. It sneezed loudly. Then, under everyone's gaze, a dog with an intact appearance trotted out of the void. It ran all the way to the golden giant's feet and raised its hind legs shamelessly. It aimed at its target and shot out a stream of yellow water. As if it was afraid that others could not see it, the dog sneezed while shaking its head. After much difficulty, it finally finished sneezing. Its face showed a perverted expression that said, "If you're not satisfied, I can give you more." Compared to a certain fatty in Tong Tian Tower who deserved a beating, this dog deserved 100 times more. It had to be said that it deserved a beating to the point that even the heavens and the gods were angry at it. Of course, compared to its owner, this dog was still lacking. It still needed to improve. The captain, who was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, suddenly had such a thought. There was a type of dog that deserved a beating. This dog in front of him. It was a dog that deserved a beating. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.